It's time to put the remote control down. The talking heads are done. It's time for unfiltered takes over a nightcap. You're invited inside to discuss the weekend's biggest disasters, the surprising heroes, and everything that got missed over the course of the weekend. This is where the best late-night sports talk happens. Welcome inside the ETB Lounge. And now, here's your bartender of banter for the evening, Callan McClurg. Damn. 5 years ago, if you can believe it, 5 years ago, I walked out of a network that thought a small market voice didn't have a place at the big table. Well, that tab is finally come due, and I'm here to collect. Welcome to the reopening of the lounge. If you feel like you've been here before, you probably have. This show started way back 15 years ago as my high school escape in 2011. A way for a kid just starting out as a broadcaster to pretend anyone was actually listening. We went from a clunky website with audio files to those beautiful, glitchy Google Hangout days where the lag was so bad that I'd react to a kickoff while the teams were already at halftime. And then, of course, came 2020 when the world stopped, but the show did come back for about a year roughly. And I found myself on a network where I thought I was building something really special and unique. Till I was shown the door because apparently I dared to prioritize my actual career as a broadcaster, 18 years, over basement takes. And apparently being called Mr. Small Market was an insult back then. But can we look at the setup here, though, on ETB this evening? I'd say the market is looking pretty damn good where I'm sitting right here and right now tonight, if I may say so. So tonight, the adults are back in the room, and we're back in charge. Before we get started, I have to give a massive thank you to one Nick Morgeson, who was a part of our bar this evening in box 3 down there, for seeing the vision and letting me reopen these doors here on ETB. And also a massive shout out to Nick DiMartino, who has agreed to host our Saturday edition. He may not get why I don't watch the NFL religiously. He can blame the California education, but hey, at least one of us here can read a map without any problem. Again, I'm not drinking alone tonight. Please welcome, though, for the first time on the ETB Lounge, our esteemed panel, the one and only analytical whiz himself, Mr. Dino Talbi, down in box 2 on our left. Right down Broadway is our voice of reason and in our Between the Ropes host, Kristie Wilson. And again, the man who gave us his John Hancock on the lease to reopen the building, that is Nick Morgeson in box number 3. Panel, welcome inside the lounge. We have a Black Monday to dissect, a playoff bracket to burn, and a 5-year tab to settle. The scoreboards have gone off. The stadiums are empty, but in here, the lights stay on, and the conversation is just beginning. Panel, the lounge is open for January 5th. Let's get to work. We, of course, folks,
Cheers.
Here on the ETB Lounge, here this evening for January 5th. Again, I am Callan McClurg, your bartender of banter, again, alongside Dino, Kristie, and Nick. Dino, we want to welcome you first and foremost. Thanks for being our late night man on the East Coast, one of the two, I should say here. But Dino, welcome to the show. Thanks for being a part of our opening episode. How you doing tonight?
Doing well. I'm glad to be here. This is it's definitely a concept I like. Just unfiltered sports bar talk. That's always something I've loved doing. So I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. Kristie Wilson, as you folks know very well, all over the place here in ETB between the ropes, between our football coverage and whatnot. Kristie joining us from Montana as always. Kristie, welcome to the program. How's it going tonight?
Doing good. Glad to be part of the lounge. It should be a lot of fun.
This is going to be a lot of fun. We'll have more about
like
our
I said
layout
yesterday on BTR, it's going to get spicy.
It will get a little spicy. And, of course, the man, the myth, the legend, the man who gave me the full carte blanche to bring this program back after 5 years away. That is my amazing co-host on Press Row. Again, he's all over the place. Without him, we are not able to re-sign the lease, reopen the lounge. more importantly, this network is not on the rails if he's not here. That, of course, is Nick Morgeson in Plainview, New York. Mr. Morgeson, thank you so much for letting the vision come back to life. And more importantly, thanks for jumping on for at least for show one. We really appreciate. I really do appreciate it very much here tonight. But how's it going though? And again, great to see you as always.
Excuse me.
You know what? I'm looking forward to this vision. I think it's a great show. You and I have discussed late night television before. It's a lot of political BS, which no one cares about on TV. This is meant to have fun in sports, maybe a little bit of pop culture if it kind of presents that route, which more of the Saturday version will kind of curtail, which we can talk about at the end. But this is sports and exploring different opinions. Now, we're not going to be first take. We're not going to be, if you're looking for stupid hot takes, this is not your show. Will we get a little ornery and rowdy in this bar? Because that's what a bar atmosphere is like. And just for that sake, I did bring the pretzels like they do in the bowl.
Yes.
Those little ones? Yeah.
The problem is I ate them all because I might be a little salty tonight. So just saying.
Salty.
I might be a little salty about Todd McShay and what he said about my Jets, but
oh boy,
we can talk about that later.
Oh, so folks, here is how our program will work. We're going to be here with you on Mondays. Now, there will be a few Mondays where I'll probably be away from the bar that we will actually pre-record our content Sunday, over the weekend, where we still, though, can keep the Monday slot open for the ETB Lounge. Again, welcome in, folks. Callan McClurg with Dino Talbi alongside Kristie Wilson and Nick Morgeson. It's our debut show here. We're here every Monday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight or 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern. Again, kind of giving you a bar atmosphere in a way, but more importantly, going a bunch of different directions, talking all the big stories in sports from the weekend, including today, whatnot. And what we are serving up, though, here is a lot of bar style talk. We're going to be having a lot of different moving segments here that will become part of our shtick here on Mondays. We'll open up with a bit of a happy hour, little trios of samplers. We'll talk about some of the big storylines from the weekend involving the NFL. We'll talk about that. We'll also get to one of our new games we'll be playing here called Empty the Beverage Bottoms Up. We're going to give our panel essentially 2 games to pick from, and then they have to basically go with their gut or go and make their prediction. There will be consequences if anybody, including yours truly, gets a pick wrong on here when it comes to the opening monologue, maybe some on-screen stuff. We'll work on that later. That's part of it. We're going to do another one, too, about return on investment called a segment called Bench Money. We're going to look at some big stories involving some players who are playing up to their potential when it comes to salary, maybe not, and other things with that particular segment. Once we get a bit later on into hour 2, we're also going to look at some stuff that you probably write on the back of a napkin while you're at the bar. We'll talk about the Raiders getting the number 1 pick, though, if it actually matters for them tonight because of them firing Pete Carroll earlier today. We'll also get to one that is very much one that Nick and I chewed on, though, about something called bench confessionals. We always know that when the liquid kind of starts to flow a bit, you probably start to maybe give some different thoughts. So we're going to give the panel 3 ones to talk about involving an unpopular opinion in sports, an emotional hedge, and maybe a future regret once we get to about 8:30 Pacific time. After that, we'll get to the aftertaste. It is a segment we're going to be doing here, basically kind of talking about one of the more bitter stories in sports and kind of going shot for shot, though, for a minute when it comes to a particular talking point. We'll have one therapeutic segment, though, for those who, again, were heartbroken over the weekend. We'll talk about all the NFL firings and pour one out, too, for the Baltimore Ravens. Then we'll round up the night at about 9 o'clock Pacific time, roughly midnight Eastern, when we get to our closing monologue for the evening. So, again, a lot of bar-style themes here. One segment does have some good or bad, though, when it comes to consequences and other stuff. But again, a lot of NFL tonight, some college athletics here, some other storylines as well. And again, we're very grateful. I'm grateful again for Dino, Kristie, and for Nick for signing up for night 1. And again, as Morgeson also said, we'll talk more about the Saturday edition too when we get a bit later on the show. Again, that's going to be Nick DiMartino, more of a comedy-centric sports edition of the program. There'll be more pot shots, more laughs and more banter about sports, and probably some pot shots too at the Monday show too. But we kind of want to have a little bit, not like trying to pick fights, but have some of that bar continuity and camaraderie as we do go on. Real quick, though, before we get to our first segment, though, we'd like to remind you we are now officially on social media. You can find us right now. We are at the ETB Lounge. Again, that is at the ETB Lounge. We're on Twitter, IG, and TikTok. Again, we're going to be having clips. We're going to be putting out our show lineups whenever we do, in fact, have topics, whenever we do know who's going to be on our shows, and more behind-the-scenes stuff. But also, of course, as Nick knows very well, Nick knows that they sell. Clips will also be made available, too, for every single program that we will have as well. So again, find us on social media. Again, we're at the ETB Lounge on Twitter, IG, and TikTok. And more importantly, follow the network on Twitter, IG, and TikTok too. We are, of course, at ETB Network as well on your favorite social platforms. But again, on Twitter, IG, and on TikTok. All right, guys, let's get into the nitty-gritty of our first ever segment here. It's time to do a round of takes. We're going to open up with this, guys. It's going to be basically a happy hour. It is happy hour, which means it's time for a opening salvo of a sampler. I'm going to give you guys 3 rapid-fire headlines, no chaser, and absolutely no room here for weak opinions. We can, agree to disagree about that sort of thing later. Actually, before we get to that, we do have a couple of just some small housekeeping rules to keep the place in order. There's only 5 of them, nothing too big. But for those who are wondering, though, we do have a couple of house rules to keep the energy consistent and maintain the sophisticated but spirited lounge atmosphere. The house rules are in effect for both me and for our contributors. Please, though, guys, respect the poor. When someone is speaking, they have the floor or their glass in their hand. Interruptions are only allowed if they are quick ice cubes or short, punchy jokes or reactions, but no talking over each other, please, during long-form takes. More importantly, please don't do this in stat pad in the lounge. We value the eye test over the spreadsheet. If you cannot explain why a player is great without reciting their entire baseball reference page, your take could be considered to be watered down. No.
Mm-hmm.
Also, more importantly, check the bias at the door. Panelists must admit their lounge loyalties or their favorite teams up front if need be. If you are defending your own team, you must start with a small disclaimer, SIP. If you cannot be objective, I do have the right to mute you and move on to the next person. And also, when I do deliver the bar tab verdict, that's the end of a segment. Nothing can be said afterwards. No one last thing. If you missed it, sorry, but the bill's been paid for and signed off and out of my bank account. And if you happen, though, as well to maybe honor the bench in some way, any mention of a deep bench player or a small market hero gets you a nod of respect from yours truly and the rest of the panel. We don't talk about the superstars here, or don't just talk about them. It's everybody is included. So just some small things to keep in mind as we navigate the waters here and navigate the menu of our content tonight. All right, now let's get back to the matter at hand here with Round of Takes, guys. Here, this again is our first opening segment. Once again, I'm going to give you guys 3 rapid-fire headlines. Again, no chaser and absolutely no room for weak opinions. Guys, let's get to our big win on tap. This is the biggest game of the weekend that we saw take place. That, of course, guys, is going to go right now to the Steelers winning over the Ravens due to the fact that Aaron Rodgers clinches the AFC North Division title on a 26-yard pass to Calvin Austin III, while the Ravens have a great final drive only to hook the field goal from 44 yards out to the wide right as the clock runs out. So, panel, here's the question for you. Aaron Rodgers just survived the black and blue AFC North at 42 years old. Does the win prove he is still a tier 1 threat, or basically just because the Ravens defense handed him a gift wrapped with the division title? So again, let me rephrase that once more. Did Aaron Rodgers just survive the black and blue AFC North division at 42 years old? Does this win prove he is still a tier 1 threat, or was this simply the Ravens defense handing him a gift wrapped division title along with the missed field goal? Ladies go first. Kristie, you have the floor.
I would say, yeah. I mean, I'll give the Ravens credit for doing well in that game, but they just didn't come through at the end when it counted the most. The kicker, went wide right. I feel horrible for him, and now he's getting viciously ripped to shreds on social media. It's just, but Aaron Rodgers survived.
Dino, Aaron Rodgers may have survived. Why do I feel like that this is more about maybe Baltimore's play calling on the final drive, setting up shop from 44 yards away, being very conservative, though, as they came into Pittsburgh territory? Or is it mainly, though, Dino, perhaps, though, about how this fourth quarter was a seesaw battle? It was touchdown. But also, Dino, I think, though, what we probably have left out here, Pittsburgh basically almost gave Baltimore this game for the fact that Chris Boswell, who's been, I think, very erratic the whole season, pulls the extra point after they retake the lead, and the door is still kind of open for Lamar Jackson and for Baltimore to make that final drive. But Dino, where do you stand, though? Did Pittsburgh actually win this division title, or did Baltimore basically say, hey, here you go, it's on a silver platter?
I mean, the Steelers, they've had some games where they have looked pretty good. Obviously, their MO is always toughness, defense, and I mean that's really how you win the AFC North. When it comes to the Ravens, obviously they've been very overrated the whole year. Everybody just kept expecting them to flip the switch and kind of turn it on, but it never happened. And they were obviously the big favorites in the division coming into the year, and that just never came to fruition. So, having said that, let's not forget that even without Aaron Rodgers, the Steelers have had a winning season for about 20 years in a row now. So, they earned that division, but nevertheless, they're not really. I wouldn't call them a top tier team.
Fair observation. Okay. All right, Mr. Morgeson, again, let's recap once more. The Ravens and Steelers again played an epic game last night. Ravens again lose 26-24. This again comes in wake of a game-winning touchdown from Aaron Rodgers, a botched PAT by Chris Boswell. Lamar Jackson drives them down the field to roughly the Pittsburgh, I'd say, 30, 35-yard line. Left hash field goal for, again, a rookie kicker. I believe his name's Kyle Loop, rookie kicker. Pulls it wide right, 2 seconds left. Ravens lose the division title to Pittsburgh in that way. Pittsburgh, I believe, now hosts Houston, I think, or they go to Houston, one of the two, one of the three.
Host.
Set up there. So, Nick, your thoughts, though, on this one, though, again, did Rodgers survive, as he did survive, but does the win prove that he still could be or is a tier one threat, or was this basically the Ravens giving the Steelers, though, the division title on Sunday Night Football?
Well, I'm going to say Aaron Rodgers is not a tier one threat. He hasn't been a tier one threat for, I would say, 4 to 5 years now, at least. But this was an incredible game. AFC North rivalry. Pittsburgh and Baltimore has been a rivalry they've had incredible games. The game went back and forth. Pittsburgh was playing well. Baltimore was playing well. I was kind of surprised that Lamar was able to be healthy and get back for this game in time, considering he has been unhealthy this entire season. And there's no numbers needed for that. He has had every injury under the sun for this entire year. And he doesn't practice up to every game, which is what's confusing. So you have no idea if he's going to play. There was an illegal formation penalty by Baltimore down the stretch, which did cause a field difference when it came to that field goal, even though it was a 30-yard field goal, and that's a chip shot. And it doesn't matter if you're really a rookie or not. You should make that field goal. I understand it's a pressure field goal. I understand it's a big deal. It's the first time they missed the playoffs since 2021. So they've had an incredible streak, Baltimore, making the playoffs. But at the same time, Boswell missing the extra point, which was a big deal, because being up by 3 and being up by 2 are two different scenarios there. At least when Baltimore is driving down the field, they can't beat you with a field goal if you make an extra point. I've never seen Boswell, miss a field goal as far right as he has with the curve on that kick. I've never seen that before. It was almost like two-seam motion or knuckleball motion when he kicked it.
Oof.
But you know what? I thought Pittsburgh lost it when they missed. Then the kickback went out to the 45-yard line. I said, okay, that's it. Then Lamar has that gigantic throw to get them right into field goal range. You got to make that kick. I'm sorry. I don't care if you're a rookie or not. Make the kick. You're good. It's make it or you're out. It's an elimination game to win the division. But I'm not going to say Aaron Rodgers is tier one. He's 42 years old, and he hasn't played like peak Aaron Rodgers since he's been with Green Bay. So, and the numbers go to show you that the Ravens have been one of the worst defenses in the NFL this entire season. Now, you could say the injuries have been a massive problem so far, but I'm not going to say Aaron Rodgers is tier one, but I will say he had a really good game last night.
I think he had a good game too. And before we move on here from the peanut gallery, that is our comment section, shout out to No Face Cowboy. He says, rumors are Lamar might be a Raider next season.
Interesting.
Something.
Well,
Oh, and by the way, he says hi to me. Hello, No Face Cowboy. How are you?
yeah, I mean, he's not going anywhere.
No, I don't see
They
it.
have to figure out his contract situation, but he's not going anywhere.
I that part I agree with. I think this
I
year was
don't
more
see
of
why
like
he
they
would
had
be
like
a
a.
Raider. The
I mean,
Raiders are drafting a quarterback, are they not?
you would think, right, with them having the number one pick, but who knows?
They're going to draft a quarterback. It's probably going to be Mendoza out of the draft,
Yeah, the
but
Heisman Trophy winner.
it's the Raiders. You don't know.
It
Yeah,
is the Raiders,
that's true.
sadly. I agree. With that in mind, guys, we're going to move on, though, from the wins to the losses, and we're going to give out a flat beer award here to the Philadelphia Eagles, who lose to the Commanders yesterday, and to, speaking of lounge loyalties, losing to my former USD quarterback, Josh Johnson, class of 2008, 24-17. The old man Johnson beats Philadelphia.
Wow.
Guys, here's the question, though, for the flat beer award for the weekend. Nick Sirianni rested Jalen Hurts and his starters, thinking the bye was a lock. Did Sirianni just arrogant away his best chance at another Super Bowl run? I will give this one first to Dino. What do you think about this one, though, and how the Eagles went about their business come this past game with Washington?
Well, they wouldn't have had a bye. They would have had arguably an easier opponent in Green Bay. But again, that's really up to the coach's discretion of whether he thinks the easier opponent on paper is worth not resting your starters. Obviously every team has been banged up this year, so I can't really blame a coach for wanting to rest the starters. On the other hand, I say you do always play to win and get the higher seed. So, I mean, it's the coach's discretion. I think I would have played to win.
Nick, we usually see this, though, I think, or you guys usually do during Week 18. I shouldn't say me because everyone should know I don't watch the NFL. But I think, though, it's kind of customary, even when I did watch the sport, you would know very well, though, if you've already got everything you possibly could locked up, like the division, the first-round bye, back when the top two seeds got byes back in the day, you would normally play like basically week 3, week 4 of the preseason, let the, second string guys get some playing time. Maybe like, for instance, I think Josh Allen had to play to keep his streak of, not missing a start, I think, with Buffalo. Some guys got to play for contract incentives. I believe that some guys cashed out over the weekend. But Nick, maybe your thoughts though on this one, though. Do you believe, though, that Sirianni perhaps maybe coughed up a chance for the Eagles to go back to the Super Bowl and probably go back-to-back this year after not playing the starters versus the Commanders?
I mean, it's a tough scenario just because is there really the difference between the 2 and the 3 seed? The only difference was going to be the opponent because they were going to have a home game regardless, being a 2 or a 3 seed. But I think they dropped the ball not beating Washington. I think that's as easy of a win as you could possibly get. And for Sirianni to come out after the game and say that basically he was just resting his starters, he didn't care about the seed, that pretty much tells you all you needed to know, that basically he wasn't playing for seeding. And Chicago lost on top of it, too. So if they had just simply beat the Commanders, they would have flipped seeds from 3 to 2. Mm-hmm. But do I think it's the biggest deal that whether they're 2 or 3? No, because I still think they're probably going to beat the 49ers in the wild card round.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, more than likely, especially, again, you got a West Coast team making that trip out to the East Coast. The weather's going to be very much, I'm sure, erratic come the weekend. Kristie, your thoughts, though, on this? Now, obviously, I don't think we should probably over-exaggerate, as I said, though, because the nature, I think, though, usually I would say probably in the NFL, probably even in the NBA, you probably give the starters or your main guys like a bit of a smoke break or a breather come the last, I'd say, few games of the year, though. And obviously when you have clinched everything, hey, take a back seat. If we got to wear one, we'll wear one on the chin today. However, though, Kristie, this is obviously in your division, being a Cowboys fan, though. But do you believe, though, perhaps that Nick Sirianni, maybe some arrogance got in his way, though, of perhaps costing his team a Super Bowl run, in your opinion, after what they did yesterday against Washington?
No, it definitely seemed that way to me because I've never liked Nick Sirianni. I think he's a drama queen, but he thought my guess is he thought he was doing the right thing by resting his starters, but you can't. I don't think it was a good idea for him to do that because it cost him possible higher seeding and a possible easier opponent to face in the next round in the playoffs.
And as Nick said, though, to his point, though, all it would have been, you just flip with Chicago. It's all it would have been. It would have been, Chicago playing whoever finished number 6, and then the Eagles would have gotten 2 versus 7 out of that whole frame. One more interesting thought, guys. We'll do a quick yes or no here. Again, thanks again, No Face Cowboy, for joining us. Eagles are 1 and done. Dino, yes or no? Eagles 1 and done.
I haven't officially made my picks for the games yet, but I'm going to say yes.
What's the gut telling you right now? The
gut's telling me yes. I feel like they might be 1 and done.
All right, 1 and done for Dino. Kristie, what do you think here? 1 and done, or they get out of round 1?
Definitely 1 and done, in my opinion.
Mr. Morgeson.
No, I think the Eagles will definitely beat the Niners. The Niners are banged up for sure. I'm just trying to look ahead to their matchup, what they would play. Oh, they would have the Bears-Packers matchup.
I think so. That's going to be tough.
To be honest,
to that point.
To be honest, I think the Eagles can beat the Bears or the Packers. To be honest, they technically are the better team over both of those teams. Now, will the Eagles actually come out and play Eagles football? Will Saquon be healthy? Will their wide receiver core be healthy? That's the question mark you need to have. But you're putting a lot of pressure. If the Bears hopefully win, they will be the favorite going into that matchup. That's a lot to ask of Caleb Williams, experience-wise, who doesn't have as many reps as a Jalen Hurts, who's won a Super Bowl before. Same thing with the Niners. Brock's got more experience than Caleb does.
Yes.
So if the Bears make it through, I could see the Eagles beating them. I really do, because I just don't know if the Bears have the proper experience to get through. So I think it's a little too soon to say the Eagles are 1 and done.
I don't quite know how to feel. I really think, though, that resting with starters is one thing, and I don't really put a whole lot of stock in it. I really haven't yet at this rate. But, guys, there is one more segment here before we get to our next one here. That, of course, guys, is our bar brawl moment. Something that, of course, might be controversial, and maybe something did actually break out. Well, apparently, tensions reached a boiling point again between the Commanders and Eagles this past week. 3 players were tossed out again in Week 16, and they again had another explosion in the tunnel as the players walked off in Philadelphia this past Sunday, literally 24 hours ago. Nick, I'm going to go to you first on this one. With the ejections in Week 16 and the tunnel scuffle on Sunday, potentially has Philadelphia-Washington now become the best rivalry, or perhaps nastiest rivalry in the NFC, surpassing Dallas-Philadelphia?
No. Dallas-Philadelphia will always be the biggest rivalry in that division. I would even take Dallas-New York over what, Philadelphia-Washington? No. Anything with the Cowboys is going to be higher rank-wise a rivalry than anything with Washington.
I would probably say Dallas-Washington for the fact they usually play every year on Thanksgiving Day. Like, that's like a given almost, it feels like. Kristie, what do you think about this one?
Well, I would definitely, Philadelphia, Washington is usually a good rivalry. I'd say, and One Face Cowboy says it in the chat, Cowboys versus Commanders is probably the top rivalry. They've been playing each other since 1960. So they have
Dino,
that history.
what do you think?
Yeah, Cowboys, obviously used to be Cowboys Redskins, now Cowboys Commanders. That's always been the classic. And of course, Dallas Philly is a huge one that's up there as well. Philly Washington, that just doesn't feel like a rivalry just yet, but
it's probably getting there, though. All right, guys. The final word, though, on this, the bar tab verdict, I don't care. The Eagles are still paying the highest price tonight. That missed bye week or just losing to Washington again, forget the bye, is still a mistake, though, that changes their entire path for February. But we'll leave it at that, guys. We're going to move on. But see, that's the first round of takes. Let's move on, guys, to one that will have some dire consequences. The games are set, the lines are drawn, and it's time to see which one of you has the stomach to back a loser. Once you empty the glass, you no longer are debating. You're on the receipt. It's time to empty the bench and time to call bottoms up. Here's how it will work, guys. I'm going to give you 2 games coming up this weekend. You have to essentially pick one of the underdogs here, perhaps in this game, or give me your pick here. If you are wrong, you got to face a bit of the music come next Monday. But if you're right, you get a shout out in the opening monologue next Monday. Even if I'm wrong, I have to face the same exact consequences as well. So, guys, here are the two games we're going to look at. Rams and Panthers, Bills and Jaguars. So here's the storyline real quick for the Rams and Panthers. I have to step up for just a moment. But, guys, chew on this one while I'm gone, though. Can the 8-9 Panthers, who were gifted the NFC South division, pull the ultimate upset over Matthew Stafford's Rams, or is the NFC South's home field advantage just a participation trophy for a team that finished below 500? Nick, take the wheel for just a bit here while I'm gone.
You're on mute, Nick. Yeah, you're on mute.
If I can get myself unmuted. Yeah, these are decent games. To be honest, I think the Panthers should not have a home game in the playoffs. What did SVP say on SportsCenter the other night? By rule, someone has to win the NFC division.
Yes.
And you have an 8-9 team over a Rams team that I think had 11 wins or whatever it was. Explain that one will never make sense to me at all. That just because of divisional ranking, that a team with less wins could be the home field advantage in the playoffs. I can't take an underdog on that one whatsoever. The Rams are the better team. Matthew Stafford's probably going to be the MVP of this season, which nobody expected going into this season. Don't get me wrong, the Panthers have played good football. They've really stepped up to the plate. They've had quite a few wins. They blanked Atlanta twice this season.
I think they did.
And I think one of them was 30-0 at one point. The Rams D is going to eat young pup up.
That's funny.
That's true.
It's true, though. It is true.
No, I agree. The Panthers are going to get destroyed by the Rams. The other game, the Jaguars could possibly win that game. They could. The way they are playing. Am I really going to bet against the Bills and Josh Allen? Probably not. But if I had to take an underdog on one of these two games, it probably would be the Jaguars, because the Jaguars have played really good football. No one expected them to be Super Bowl potential bound the way they were playing. Now, I don't know if I'm willing to say that right now, but if based on these rules, if I had to take an underdog, I would take the Jaguars over the Bills. I don't know if I would make that a confirmed bet, but based on these rules, I would take the Rams as a clear favorite. It's not close. The Panthers should not be hosting a home game at all. It's because, as I said, by rules, someone has to win the NFC division. But by rules of this, I would take the Jaguars as the underdog pick if I had to take an underdog.
No Face Cowboy saying the Rams D is going to eat young pup alive.
Yes.
As in Bryce Young, yes.
So, Kristie, what do you think out of these two? Can the 8-9 Panthers pull off the upset over Matthew Stafford's Rams, or is the NFC South's home field advantage basically a participation trophy for a sub-500 team? And can the Bills walk into Jacksonville and silence the Jags, or is Josh Allen about to find out that the Florida humidity is the least of his problems against this defense? Who would you take out of those two?
I know that I feel like the Rams are going to destroy the Panthers, because NFC South feels like a participation trophy, and the Panthers having an 8-9 record, just that doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. So if I had to pick, I'd go Rams, definitely. And as for Bills and Jaguars, I mean, Josh Allen has no excuses. There's no Patrick Mahomes. There's no Lamar Jackson. The time for him, I'm quoting someone here, time is now. His time is now.
And
I mean, but with Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars, you know, you never know what might happen.
Jacksonville might be out to prove they're not a fluke because of the record.
Yeah, exactly.
For one thing.
Yeah.
But I also buy in though with the whole Josh Allen logic. If there's ever a time for the Buffalo Bills, 4 straight Super Bowls, 4 straight losses throughout the 90s to finally win the damn thing, it's right here and right now, as Kristie said. But Dino, who would you pick though out of these two games between the Rams and Panthers and or Bills and Jags?
So obviously you would not think the Panthers really stand a chance, but let's not forget they actually beat the Rams just a few weeks ago in Carolina. I believe The spread for that game was about what it is for this game, which is about 10 points. Now, I feel like in that case, maybe the Panthers just caught the Rams off guard, and they're not going to be able to do that this time because the Rams will know what to expect this time, and I don't think they'll let it happen again. So I got to take the team that's playing lights out right now, and that's the Jags. Their offense looks on fire, and I mean, yes, if there was ever a year for Josh Allen to win, it is this year without Mahomes in the way. But something tells me like they're just going to end up failing like they always do, which is a shame, but it's true.
All right, couple thoughts here from No Face Cowboy. Sunshine Trevor going to shine. I like the Jags over Buffalo. That would be something. Yeah. And, but you know what, though? This next point, though, is so true, though. And this, I think, goes to any sport, though. The playoffs are a different animal. Regular season means pretty much nothing. And I think we all here in some way can agree on that aspect in some capacity, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yes.
Nick's a little wishy-washy down there in box 3.
Well, the regular season determines your playoff ranking. That's why I wouldn't say the regular season means nothing. But
right.
If he's clarifying the fact that it's different pressure playing in the playoffs than it is in the regular season, then yeah, sure. I'll agree with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely there is some merit to the regular season. Again, 1 seed, you get the bye. If you sneak in as a 7 or a 6 seed, you're obviously in trouble. 5 through 7 got to go on the road. 2, 3, 4, you're hosting at home to start the postseason. But, then again, we see this all the time with where things are, in fact, where they go when it comes to sports. And furthermore, No Face Cowboy says Panthers beating Rams was my reference about that playoffs are a different animal and that the regular season means nothing. I mean, very fair point, though, where it's at. And Nick, I'm not sure how often this has happened, but this has to be, I think, one of the first times I'd say since probably the last 15 years, probably that we've had a division champion under 500, I think, in the NFL.
No, it's actually not. We've had this a few times, but this goes back to the point of the NFC is just the worst division on the entire planet. And that's not me being using hyperbole. Like, that division never has a division winner with a 500 record or an over 500 record. So that's why I'm saying it's kind of effed up that you have the Rams going on the road to take on the Panthers when I think they have, 11 wins, I think. So how does an 11-win team have to travel on the road when they have 11 wins?
I think they have 12 wins, actually.
Actually, you might be right. They might have 12 wins. But still, that proves my point further.
Right, and they got to travel cross country too.
See, that's ridiculous, and the NFL's got to fix that. And I was talking to some people from our network that they might need to reseed when they get into the playoffs based on record. Because
I thought they reseeded though once you got through the wild card round.
No, they don't reseed. No.
Well, they do after the wild card round, but not for like the division winner gets a home game no matter what, even if they have a losing record.
So if I can interject, if we're talking about reseeding, Nick, to your point here, are you talking about mainly that you wouldn't want to see Green Bay, Chicago, for example, in round one because it's a divisional matchup every year, or what would your stance be on that, though?
No, I'm talking about the Panthers-Rams matchup where the Panthers are 8-9, and I'm trying to look up the Rams record. I think they have 12 wins, but I'm talking about that. Let's see. They are 12-5. A 12-5 team should not be traveling on the road in the first round. Sorry, that's insane.
Let me stop you real quick. Last season, I think, Nick, we talked during Press Row, our Wednesday show at 11 a.m. here on ETB. I think we talked, though, I want to say it linked a little bit. Maybe this was before I came here, though, that I remember a story that obviously we talk about, they're voting about the tush push. They're voting about this. And I believe, though, I saw something, though, that the Vikings, I believe, pitched the idea of that the division winners don't deserve the top 4 seeds and that it needs to be done by record. Now, again, I might be wrong here again, because I don't remember the story very, very well. But if we went that way, though, Nick, let's say that we throw out the division title means nothing. If you could, what would the standings look like, though, if you went solely by wins, not by who won division titles in the NFC, if you can pull that up?
You can't do that, because you have to go by, because the way the records are determined, and the only way you'd be able to do that is going by head-to-heads. That would be the only way if you didn't do a divisional winner to keep track of who has the best records against certain teams. So you can't do that. So I think you just got to reseed the best records, because again, the Rams 12-5 should not be a road team for the wild card game. How is that fair that they have to travel cross country to play a game when Carolina's 8-9 didn't even finish at 500?
All right. I do actually like this thought here from No Face Cowboy. He says the NFL needs realignment. How can the Cowboys be in the NFC East? Okay. I will get on the bar top here real quick and say,
okay,
the one league who's got it right with 32 teams is the NHL.
Yes.
They have gotten that right with how they have 8-team divisions done by geographic location across the Western Conference and Eastern Conference. And again, that might be tough, though, because, well, hey, if you do that, you're breaking up tradition of the, whatever. But I don't know about if realignment would actually work, though. I think, though, if for some reason we move the Cowboys out of the NFC East, that takes away a lot of legacy. If you somehow break up the NFC North, that breaks up, founding members of the NFL like Green Bay and Chicago, who might be in Indiana apparently in a couple of years for a new stadium.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe we'll see what they choose to do. I don't actually mind the alignment right now, because basically the AFC West is what the AFL used to be about 60 years ago when the Chargers were still in San Diego with the Chargers, the Raiders, Denver, and with Kansas City. But Nick, I think you want to make the point real quick.
Well, this is what they're trying to pass in the NBA, where they just want to put the top, eight teams on each side. So top 16 teams make it that way. Because if you remember all these years in the NBA, the Western Conference dominated the Eastern Conference for years
by light years.
And you would have teams that are 10th, 11th, 12th seed in the Western Conference that would be like a 4, 5, 6 seed in the Eastern Conference. So to align it better, they're better off just taking the top 16 to 18 teams, ranking them for the top 16, and then just rank it and base the matchups based off the records, better than just saying, all right, the top 8 here from the East, the top 8 from the West. It's a little harder to do that in the NFL because of the amount of teams, but and the way that the formatting of the playoffs are, but you might have to. You might just have to align how many teams you're putting in the playoffs and just say whoever has the 10 or the top half of the league makes the playoffs, and that's it.
No Face Cowboy says by 2050 it might happen. Heard a rumor. I'll be dead by then. I'll be 56 by the time we get to 2050. In case I'll be 56 by the time we get to 2050.
Yeah, I'm gonna be dead by then anyway. Who cares?
One more thought here, real quick. Going back to the Ravens, Mogs420 says Lamar blocked me on Twitter for defending his career, so he can go be a Raider. As far as I'm concerned, why would someone do that though? About if you're defending them, why would you do that?
I don't get it.
Wait
it's
a minute.
Weird.
I did get blocked by Deshaun Watson because apparently I was too opinionated for him. Apparently.
Well, then again, though, a certain show you host on this platform got blocked by a certain WNBA player in Chicago, if memory serves me correct.
No. Oh no.
Yeah, well, she's too worried about off the court matters than what's on the court. So that's all I'll say about that.
Right.
Hey, take it easy on the silverware in here, Mr. Starr. We just opened up. I don't need a ruckus after the first couple of segments here. For the verdict, though, on this one, I mean, the house money for me is on the Rams to beat Carolina. I mean, you can't win in January with an 8-9 resume and hope in a pipe dream to win a playoff game. Where again, I think though, guys, before we move on here, I will say, and I think we all can agree, there's always that one division, as Nick kind of said about the NBA and the Western Conference being so much, top heavy than the Eastern Conference. I think there's always one division in every league that we watch that's always this bad, like the AL Central, for example, or even in our case now, the NFC South.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's always that one division.
There's always one.
Always one. Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah. Either way, though, the drinks are on the table. We'll see who's toasting and who's getting skunked next week in the monologue
Cheers.
here on the lounge. Guys, we'll switch gears to our next segment here. We're digging through the bargain bin tonight to find some top shelf product on a well-liquored budget. This is being called bench money because in January, every yard has a price tag. So, guys, here's how it's going to work here. We're going to analyze something called ROI, or return on investment, for teams that bought their way in versus those on rookie contracts. Let's start, though, guys, with the veteran tax. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers and Matt Stafford a bit further. They are right now carrying some massive cap hits. Are they providing a surplus of value, or are they just meeting the minimum requirements for their salary in regards to how they played this season? Let's go back to Kristie on this one. What do you think about how these two guys have played? Are they living up to their contracts, or are they just getting by on the minimum duties on their salary?
I'd say Stafford definitely is more the investment, while I think Aaron Rodgers is just get by. Matthew Stafford has the potential to be the NFL MVP this season, the way he's been playing. And Aaron Rodgers, I feel like he's just skating by.
So I think the skating by probably would say that well, hey, if the Ravens make this kick, they don't win the division title. They aren't in the postseason. Rodgers maybe contemplates retiring. Who knows about Mike Tomlin's futures? We'll talk about a bit later on in the show. So I think that could be a fair point, though. I mean, do I dare say it? But I think it's tough right now to say that Drake May is probably the MVP right now, perhaps.
I'd say it's a toss-up between him and Stafford.
I do about Stafford, because I think he's had a bit of, not really a renaissance year, though, but probably playing, I'd say, in probably one of the more tougher divisions in the NFL and the NFC West. I think they sent, 3 teams in the playoffs this year? 2 teams, 3 teams? 3?
Yep. Rams, Seahawks, and Niners.
So, okay. So Kristie's going to say that Stafford probably is playing up to the contract. Rodgers probably is getting close, but not quite. Dino, where do you stand on this with both Rodgers and Stafford carrying massive cap hits? Are they providing a surplus of value, or are they just meeting minimum requirements for their salary and just kind of getting by?
Well, Stafford has certainly surpassed his expectations by far. I mean, he led the league in touchdown passes and passing yards, I believe, either first or second in passing yards, but definitely by far the leader in touchdowns. He might fall just short to Drake May in the MVP, but I mean, before 2 weeks ago, he was definitely the favorite. So yeah, he's definitely living past his expectations. Rodgers, I mean, the thing with Rodgers is, I don't know if there really was that much of an expectation. He is 42 years old. Nobody expected him to be back to his peak self. Nevertheless, he has probably also played better than expected for his age. And considering the fact that he had 2 kind of lost years with the Jets, he's kind of come back, not quite to his peak self, of course, but back to a better version of Aaron Rodgers. So I think both players are living up to their contracts.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough, though, for any athlete, and this is with any sport. Tough, though, when you get that massive payday to live up to all the expectations. When, even if you're, a young buck coming out of college and you're, the rookie phenom, or if you are a 42-year-old grizzled vet like Rodgers, you still feel that pressure, I think, to perform, though, at a high level. I think that both these guys have. Real quick, want to give a massive shout out real quick again to No Face Cowboy. Great show, y'all, or a great show. Take care, y'all, and go Cowboys. Just for the heck of it, though, we got a little nice parting gift for you right here.
Damn Cowboy.
Thank you, Tom Albano, for providing that. So, Mr. Morgenstern, obviously, we know that Rodgers was your guy for a little bit there with the Jets as your quarterback. But your thoughts, though, about with Rodgers and Stafford, they are, again, they do carry some massive salary cap hits. Again, is either or both of them providing a surplus of value, or are they simply meeting the minimum requirements for their salary on their contracts? What say you?
So, number one, this is what I have to say to the media.
RELAX.
Because the media massively overreacted to, and I'm sure Kristie and I probably did it on Forecast when we previewed Aaron Rodgers coming back to the Steelers, well, not coming back, signing with the Steelers,
Mhm.
but we got to give credit where credit is due. And Aaron Rodgers is finally shown after 2 miserable years. Well, I'm not even going to call it technically 2 miserable years because he got hurt after 4 snaps
Yeah.
in year 1. So does that really count
Oh.
as does that count as a year of playing football? I don't know. But
No.
I would say for sure that he's definitely provided a surplus of value with Pittsburgh because number one, they're in the playoffs now. They are one Tyler Loop actual made field goal away from being eliminated this year. But Aaron Rodgers did all the necessary work in that game. If it's not for Aaron Rodgers, they don't even have a chance to win this game and to advance to the playoffs. So everything this year hinged on Aaron Rodgers being healthy. And that's what we knew going into this year, that Aaron Rodgers needed to be up to standard or at least 70 or 75% healthy for them to have a chance to make the playoffs. Like you said about Tomlin, it's also comes down to Tomlin too. I think Tomlin deserves a lot of credit also because I don't know if Aaron Rodgers would, if you look when he was at the Jets, him and Saleh did not get along whatsoever.
Absolutely
Nope.
not.
That was
I've heard stories.
that was a relationship from hell. And now Robert Saleh is the defensive coordinator with the 49ers. But
Basically went back to his old job before he got the job with the Jets.
correct. But I think Tomlin was the perfect fit, veteran to veteran, running a franchise. He's going to let Aaron call the plays, even though it looked like he had a helmet communication issue towards the end of the
Because I think they burned all 3 timeouts in the fourth quarter in very quick succession because of the
third quarter.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, but
okay.
but that was, and people were saying, "Oh my God, they had no timeouts. They couldn't ice the kicker down the line." Well, believe it or not, that probably was in the benefit of Pittsburgh because if they iced the kicker, he would have slowed himself down for a second kick and probably would have made it. But Steelers and Aaron Rodgers surplus value. Rams and Stafford has gone a million times over the value that he probably is not being paid enough by the Rams because he's had at least 3 or 4 or 5 touchdown games already this year. It's been one of those years where Matthew Stafford, who I think is 36 37 years old now,
Right around there,
one of the older quarterbacks in the NFL currently, he's having a resurgence. If you remember, he was stuck in Detroit all those years and was never getting to the playoffs and making any runs.
in 16 seasons, broken collarbones, you name it.
Yeah.
And then the quarterback reversal trade, I like to call it, between Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford totally turns his career around. He wins a Super Bowl. McVay finally wins a Super Bowl. They have a potential to win a second one. Matthew Stafford is a Hall of Famer now because of this trade now going to the Rams. He would have been a Hall of Famer anyway because of his yards and everything, but 2 Super Bowls potentially is going to make him better. So they both have surpassed their value.
Moggs is back. They say only another ring for Rodgers would seal the deal to be worth it when it comes to his value to the Steelers.
Well, maybe. I don't really know.
It depends.
Does it lock him in, though, for Ken? Absolutely, if he gets one more. But I think even without getting another one, I think he's still going to be in the Hall of Fame.
He's going to be in the Hall of Fame regardless. It's not going to matter. But to say it all depends what you judge success in this scenario. Now, in this case, I think Moggs is right that you're not bringing in Aaron Rodgers unless you are looking to get to the Super Bowl and claim the title. I don't think they're good enough to make the Super Bowl. I still think Seattle and Denver and you can go on the list. New England are better than them, but you're not bringing back Aaron Rodgers out of retirement essentially because he was hurt unless you're looking to win a Super Bowl.
All right, guys, let's go from the vets to the young bucks. Let's talk about Drake May and Caleb Williams, who are both playing on bench money compared to those vets of Rodgers and with Stafford. Let's go to Dino first. Dino, who do you believe probably is providing surplus value or meeting the minimum requirements for their salary? Would you go Drake May or Caleb Williams for the rookies that are right now going to be in the postseason?
Well, I mean, out of those two, it's definitely Drake May. He's going to most likely win the MVP, and he's and you look at the Patriots, and they don't have that. Like, they don't really have that many weapons on offense. So he's definitely done a great job leading that team. His numbers are good. Caleb Williams has also done a good job. I feel like the Bears have gotten lucky in a lot of games. But luck can only bring you so far. They are the number 2 seed, so both players are good, but Drake May, as of right now, is the surplus, providing the surplus.
All right, Kristie, what do you think about the rookie surplus? Who do you think probably has or who's providing a surplus of value or just meeting the minimum requirements right now? Drake May and Caleb Williams, who I think I'll say real quick, what kind of a turnaround though for these two guys after a dismal first year in the NFL for those by their standards, probably.
Yeah, it's definitely Drake May. I mean, he has shown so much in his second year. I'm really, really impressed with him. Caleb Williams, I don't doubt he's good, but I just find Drake May is just he's living up to it as far as I'm concerned.
So 2 for Drake May. So Nick, where do you stand on this one though? Again, I think again, as we've kind of been saying though, we probably think right now in the lounge tonight here as we get ready for hour 2 and to wrap up here. God, this show's flown by already. That we're kind of all in like mutual agreement. Stafford or May probably for MVP right now. But Nick, from the rookie perspective though, who probably is meeting these standards though for surplus value? Do you go Drake May with New England after the dismal year they had last season, getting Mike Vrabel in as the head coach? Or is it maybe Caleb Williams after, his down season last year? They lure Ben Johnson from Detroit, and somehow the Bears win a division title this year in the NFC North. But who would you probably go with and why?
I think Drake May's had the more impressive season. That's for sure. I think he's really had a build. You have to remember, with the Patriots all these years, the fans and everyone is so used to the Tom Brady mantra for years upon years, over a decade. So they're not used to seeing other quarterbacks or working under other systems. Caleb Williams, it's Caleb Williams' team. And as soon as he walked in, if you remember, first overall pick, all the drama that was involved when he got drafted, whether he would go there, whether he would not go there. Drake May has definitely earned rookie surplus. I think he's had a little bit more time to gel and build chemistry with his teammates. And also, it doesn't help when you have to change a head coach for a rookie quarterback or a second-year quarterback when you've had 2 different head coaches in 2 years. Drake May has earned this more. He has a chance to be MVP the way he's played. Now, again, I still think Matthew Stafford's going to win, but at the same time, Drake May has had an incredible year, and I think the Patriots have found their quarterback of the future.
I think so as well. Excuse me. I think so as well. Guys, let's look though real quick at college football real quick and look at the ROI or the return on investment for the last 4 teams standing. We've got Oregon, of course, Dan Lanning, great job. Ole Miss, I think, is playing with all the bench money we can get out of our pockets here on ETB because of what they've gone through with, again, the coaching carousel, the incredible upset of Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. Of course, Indiana, who I think is probably the odds-on favorite, and somehow, some way, 10-seed Miami at this rate. So, Nick, who right now is getting the most bang for their NIL bench money buck right now as we enter the semifinals? Oregon, Ole Miss, Indiana, or Miami? Who would you probably go with?
Oh, Indiana. It's not close. Indiana's had an incredible year so far. I wouldn't even say their full value is in NIL. I think it's in Kurt Signani, their coach, who has really built this group up. And now I think they have a long-term future for the next 5 or 6 years to really run for a few national titles. If you want to go at momentum, you could say Ole Miss, because, again, they just had the Lane Kiffin situation where he just basically ran away. He didn't even walk away. He ran away for the LSU job.
Yeah.
So, true. But I would say right now the greatest return on investment is Indiana. And I don't even think they had the most NIL money.
I don't think so either.
Out of all these teams. I would say Ole Miss definitely had more money. I would say all those teams have more money than Indiana, but I would say the most value in Indiana is their coach, not necessarily their NIL money.
Fair point with Signetti right now. Kristie, who do you think probably has the most bang for their NIL bench money right now? The Ducks, the Rebels, Hoosiers, or the Hurricanes?
It's got to be the Hoosiers. They not only have a good coach, like Nick said, they've got Mendoza, the Heisman Trophy winner, quarterback, who's really good. And I think Indiana's going to make it all the way to the national title game, probably win it.
I mean, Dino, in perspective, my dad has long believed, though, in the Heisman curse, that a lot of times if your team has the Heisman winner, you're usually not going anywhere anytime soon, or like you're going to stop in your tracks usually. But I'm not going to lie, though, because I watch the New Year's Six every year. I watch it, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. And I probably watch more of the college football playoffs than anything else when it comes to football. I was honestly, Dino, shocked, though, that Indiana did what they did to Alabama after Bama had that roaring comeback versus Oklahoma in round one. But, Dino, I think we all probably agree, though, but maybe you might be thinking somewhere else, though, but who probably is getting the most bang for their NIL bench money buck right now in college football as you enter the semifinals coming up here over the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, based on preseason expectations, it's obviously Indiana. I mean, I don't think anybody could have possibly seen them being the number one team, in the playoffs. And now, having said that, I do think Oregon has a good chance to beat them. Oregon has been very good defensively as well. So that game could potentially be close, but I don't know. I've thought that all year, honestly, and Indiana has proven me wrong every time. So,
and as a reminder, Indiana went to Eugene and beat Oregon earlier this year up in Eugene, which is usually very hard to do. Again, Onsen Stadium is very hard to win in usually. Guys, our verdict, though, the best return, though, on investment for college football is definitely the Indiana Hoosiers. Gene Hackman, clap it up, please. They've reached the semifinals on a well-liquored budget, while the Giants are overpaying for early exits, much like we have seen, though, where I think, Nick, for me, if I'm wrong, it's like 1-7 now, or 2-6 that the top seeds are in the new CFP era when it comes to.
It's 1-7. Yeah.
1-7 when it comes to having the bye.
Wow.
I mean, 25 days off, though, is a long time. With that, though, guys, already, welcome to the final hour of the show. We have literally breezed through the first hour. We also have 81 live viewers. Thank you all again so much for making this program possible here tonight. Again, Callan McClurg, Dino Talbi, Kristie Wilson, and Nick Morganson inside the ETB Lounge for our first Monday episode of the season. Again, Saturday we'll be having Nick DiMartino and his class clowns in the building for the Saturday comedy-centric driven sports talk show on Saturday night. So again, thank you for making us part of your day here today. Also, as a reminder, gang, make sure you join and subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/ETB Network as we chase our 4,000 watch hour goal. Subscribe and help us hit the goal. More importantly, turn on notifications, and please make sure you check out our content. All right, guys, into the back half now of our program. We now, guys, are going to have to break out the napkins. We don't need a 30-page analytics report. Give me a pen, give me a napkin, and give me your gut instincts. Guys, earlier or on Sunday, the Las Vegas Raiders, of course, clinched the number one overall pick in the upcoming NFL draft after losing. But more importantly, they also showed Pete Carroll the door after one season as their head coach here today, as well as part of Black Monday. So, guys, let's go first, and we'll start here with hour two. We'll go back to Kristie. Kristie, the Raiders have officially secured the number one overall pick. Does this actually matter?
No, doesn't matter, because whoever they pick, it's going to be a bad decision either way you look at it.
We keeping a buck right now. We ass.
Yeah, thank you, Cam Ward, for your insights, because the Titans were about as bad as the Raiders. So again, the Raiders, I think, finished 3-14 on the season, and I mean, their last win of the year though came against the Chiefs. I mean, that's kind of saying a lot, though, because the Chiefs had, the bottom fell out on them after the Mahomes injury. Yeah. Is Travis going to retire? Are they going to be able to keep the roster intact because of the financial situations right now? I think Kristie is onto something, though. Dino, your thoughts, though, again, the prompt here for the back of the napkin question. The Raiders didn't clinch the number one overall pick after their win yesterday or loss yesterday. But, Dino, the Raiders get the number one pick. Does this really matter, though, in your mind?
They do have some talent on that team. But, when it comes to the Raiders, they're pretty similar to my Jets. They always find a way to screw it up. So, I mean, does it matter? I guess it matters, but I'm not sure, if it's. And the thing about Pete Carroll, just to mention about Pete
Yes,
Carroll,
please do.
I feel like the Raiders are basically admitting their mistake in hiring him, because otherwise you wouldn't fire him after one season, knowing that you didn't really have a Super Bowl ready team anyway. So if you're firing him after one season, you're basically admitting a mistake in hiring him to begin with.
Yeah.
Nick, I think I saw a stat today that the Raiders are on the hook for $50 million when it comes to fired head coaches, dating back 5 years, going on to 2021 when Gruden got the axe though for the email issues with Dennis Allen when he was in Washington, and then of course there was Antonio Pierce, there was this, there was that. But again, Nick, the Raiders get the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Again, does this really matter in your mind?
I mean, it just goes to show you that they're a terrible franchise every single year, and they can't win any games. Ashon Genty is one of the guys that is a high mark for them, and I think he's going to be a really good running back. But it doesn't help that you can't have a healthy quarterback, and you don't have a quarterback to rely on for the future. Geno Smith, I should know this, and Dino should know this too as a miserable Jets fan like myself, that Geno is just a terrible, terrible quarterback. He had a good year or two, and that's how he got a $100 million plus contract with Seattle, and then ends up getting traded to the Raiders. Which, when you get traded to the Raiders, that's like being traded to purgatory. When you get traded to the Raiders, obviously, I think this has nothing to do with Pete Carroll. To be quite honest, I think the team was just so bad. Like, you could have had John Gruden coaching again, and it wouldn't have mattered who you had coaching there. The team is just so poorly run. That's why they brought in Tom Brady to ownership, breaking NFL protocol as a broadcaster. But Tom Brady and the ownership, well, he is part of the ownership, but the full ownership is going to pick the new head coach. The problem is, who's going to want to coach the Raiders right now when they have no resemblance of winning energy in that building or chemistry in that building? So, to be honest, I think this has nothing to do with Pete Carroll. I think Pete Carroll was just the scapegoat because they needed to fire him because they needed to start from scratch, regardless, because they know they have the first overall pick. It does matter because if they do end up with Mendoza, that's someone they can build around. Hopefully they don't destroy his career before it starts.
Yes.
And this has nothing to do with Pete Carroll. This has to do with just how bad the organization is.
Yeah, I personally find it very hard to believe, though, that you would fire a coach as well loved and respected in football circles like Pete Carroll after one season. Again, you didn't even give this guy a chance to come in and, mop the floor and get the water running, and he's already out the door after one season. Again, the record's one thing, guys, but again, the division is one thing, though. Again, Denver somehow 14 wins. The Chiefs fell off the face of the earth. The Chargers are the Chargers, as we already know. But again, the Raiders have been stuck in purgatory, guys, since they came to my hometown and lost to Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl in 2003 to a John Gruden, Brad Johnson-led Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. And they try to say, oh, it's only because half the defense went to Tijuana and they got sick from food poisoning. Now, the better team beat you that night, and there's no way in hell that I was going to watch a AFC West rival when I was a football fan win the Super Bowl at my home team stadium in 2003. So I don't want to hear any of that sort of stuff, though. But let's move on, though, guys, to the next part of this question, though. With that, though, guys, if you had, though, to write on the back of a napkin, Dino, if you give the Raiders, though, the best player in the draft, but keep the same front office, does the math ever actually add up, though? Again, I think, Dino, we've seen this, though, so many times with this organization, probably moreover, sadly, I'd say this has been a common theme, though, for the Raiders, probably the Jets, maybe Tennessee, that you can give them the best player, but if they have the same front office, though, making the decisions, does the math ever actually add up, though, when this sort of thing seems to happen so often in these circles?
Yeah. I mean, like you're saying, there are just certain teams that no matter what players they acquire, it's the same story over and over. The Jets are one of them. The Raiders are one of them. Cleveland Browns, definitely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess you got to go all the way to the top in the ownership, which I guess for the Raiders did recently change. Maybe Tom Brady
Kinda,
can
sorta.
make a difference.
Short,
Kind
tiny
of, sort
bit.
of.
You never know. Maybe that could possibly provide the spark they need. Maybe he will actually go in there and say, like, no, we need this type of coach and this type of quarterback and this type of system, and maybe that will make a difference. I don't know, but that remains to be seen. What I can say is for certain teams, maybe you got to go all the way to the top, and that starts with the ownership.
So, Kristie, I think Dino's onto a very fair point, though. It starts from the top down. But, Kristie, on the
Yes.
back of a napkin, if you had one, if you give the Raiders the best player in the draft, though, but keep the same front office around the team, does the math ever actually add up in your opinion?
Not really, but like Dino said, you got to start at the top. I know Tom Brady is part of ownership, but you got to look at Mark Davis. He's continuing what his father, Al Davis, had done for many, many, many years before he passed away.
And
Nothing seems to have changed as far as I'm concerned.
by the way, can that guy please get a new haircut?
Yeah,
I mean,
that
can you
that
get like a
hair,
different
I
size
can't stand
bowl
his
to
hair.
put on the head? Like, do I have to
Yeah,
go grab a
please.
salad bowl for you, or a mixing bowl, or
Can he
a
also change his
skillet?
sweatsuits
A
as
skillet?
well?
I don't know.
It's a skillet or a wok or something. I don't know.
Mr. Morganson, obviously, you've seen this with the Jets, but also Nick. But you know what though? We talk about this still a lot though. When we talked about the NBA trying to curb tanking, when we have long said there are certain teams who are just set up for failure: Jets, Browns, Raiders, the Nets, the Wizards, you name them. But Nick, though, if you had to write on the back of a napkin, if you give the Raiders the best player in the draft, though, but keep the same front office, does the math ever actually add up?
Okay, I'm going to say something very simple because it's a very simplistic thing.
Mhm.
What's the definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over.
Well,
And getting nothing in return.
that's my answer. That the Raiders are the typical definition of insanity, where they try to just recycle out coaches. They don't change the ownership, they don't change the GMs, they don't make any changes, and they expect the same result to happen. I mean, look, the Raiders, until they completely clean out and they draft a quarterback of their own and they're willing to give it a chance, and just all the head coaching moves. They've had like 5 coaches in 6 years or something. I think I was doing the math. Like they're just moving coaches around like a rotational pool, for
Like a
crying out loud.
carousel. Do, do, do.
Pretty much.
It's like
I
a
love this.
carousel.
Oh man, Moggs just went ham. Now that my bitter ass thinks about it, I don't want Lamar paired up with Tom Brady in Las Vegas.
You shouldn't.
No,
No.
don't.
Moggs is right here. You don't
He is
want him.
right.
You don't want him paired.
It's a great one there, Moggs. I love it.
You don't want him paired up with Tom Brady in Vegas. Like, first of all, there's probably the cheapest team to get his hands on. That's why Tom Brady probably got a percentage of whatever he was buying in Vegas. But no, the Raiders are the definition of insanity. Until they make actual, real changes, nothing is going to change.
Oh, well, on the back of a napkin, I wrote down, just tank, baby. Not just win, it's just tank, baby. Because give me a break. The Raiders just fired a 74-year-old Pete Carroll after one season just to let some minority owner named Tom Brady pick his replacement. A number 1 pick in the hands of this organization is not an asset, but a hostage situation. The map says they'll be back in the same exact spot in 2027. Simple math for a complicated game. Don't overthink it. As a reminder, though, folks, don't forget that we are also live streaming as well on Kick and Twitch. That is kick.com and twitch.tv/ETB Network. Do not miss us over there. 85 people in the lounge. Thank you all again for paying us to be here tonight. More importantly, as we get our show off the ground and running here,
Cheers.
adding a little bit to your Monday night here this evening. Guys, we're gonna do another kind of cool thing here. This is called Under the Coaster, kind of a story flying underneath the radar, a la flying underneath the coaster if you had a drink at the actual bar. That, of course, guys, was Myles Garrett surpassing Michael Strahan's sack record on Sunday after the Browns somehow beat the Bengals in the Battle of Ohio on Sunday from Cleveland. And, of course, Garrett breaks the record at 23 sacks on Sunday, surpassing both Michael Strahan and T.J. Watt, who had 22.5 sacks. But, record scratch, there, of course, is a debate about there being an asterisk on Myles Garrett's new record for the simple fact that Strahan played in the original 16-game schedule while Garrett played in the new 17-game schedule. But the data, though, shows that Garrett had fewer pass rush opportunities at 540 pass plays than Michael Strahan did in his 16-game run, where he only had 567 pass play opportunities. Strahan did congratulate him on Fox, but jokingly called him the 16-game king of the record. So, Nick, Myles Garrett's sack record, of course, is the only bright spot for another beleaguered year for the Cleveland Browns. That, again, some go through Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, and, of course, Shedeur Sanders. But, Nick, more importantly, thoughts, though, about the asterisk debate, though, concerning Myles Garrett breaking the all-time sack record, though, despite playing in one more game than Michael Strahan and and J.J. Watt.
Oh, my God. Who the hell cares?
Thank you, Peter Griffin.
Who cares? Who cares if it's Who cares if it's 16, 17? Yeah. Who cares? See, what people forget is guys like Michael Strahan. Oh, well, I came from the traditional NFL where we played this amount of games and the NFL added another game, so the record shouldn't matter because he got an extra game to play it. Okay? You still got to break the record. It doesn't matter if or when. I mean, Callan, you and I had this conversation about the whole Aaron Judge situation over in Major League Baseball, where people were asterisking the home run record because they said Aaron Judge did it in more games. Who cares?
And that actually, Nick, goes to the original argument about that. Maris and Mantle in 1961, because MLB had just come out to California when the Angels became a franchise. The Senators became a team in D.C., and the movie that Billy Crystal directed with Barry Pepper was such a great way to not only tell the story of Maris and Mantle, but actually not just the record chase, but though really, I think, opened your eyes, though, about how the New York pressure can be, though, again, as the movie goes on, though, but as the story went on, though, Maris called out the media saying, I'm just some dumb redneck from North Dakota. I don't care how the fans portray me. And after that comment, he was booed at every home game, booed in D.C. Then, of course, the very infamous meeting where, again, the sports writers all meet with Ford Frick, the commissioner, and then he makes the announcement. Any record broken in more than 154 is a separate record because Roof did not play 162. To Nick's point, though, we're kind of going that way now whenever, like, for example, am I going to hear this baloney, BS, cow manure, spilt Miller Lite at my bar, that if someone breaks a NHL record next season, oh my God, they played 84 games. They played a longer season schedule. It's no. Records are meant to be broken as they say all the time. But Kristie, let's go to you now for your thoughts here. Obviously, Strahan was joking about the whole 16-game thing, but I think, though, the data's right, though. Garrett had fewer opportunities by, I think, roughly, quick math here, bar math, I think he had 17 fewer chances to rush the quarterback. So that's one thing right there. But I still think, though, I don't want to hear any of this. A record is a record, regardless of if it took you one game to do it or it took you all 18 weeks to do it.
It shouldn't matter. It absolutely should not matter at all. I mean, Garrett broke the record. He deserved to break the record. I mean, people were saying the same thing about Strahan when he had his record-breaking sack on Brett Favre. They said, "Oh, Favre just gave it to him. We should just put an asterisk next to Strahan's name on that one." I don't like it. I don't think it's fair.
That would be
you
kind
broke
of
the
funny,
record.
though.
You deserve it.
It would be funny, to your point, though, about asterisk. Because the quarterback let him sack him would have been a funny
exactly.
thing
It'd be a funny thing. I was hearing about it everywhere. I was like, it's a record-breaking sack. Leave it alone.
I mean, what are we going to do?
What Brett Favre was doing.
I mean, what's next when we make it 18 games? Are we going to complain about that next?
Probably.
Probably.
I mean, as if we don't have enough to argue about here, in the lounge. But again, Dino, maybe your thoughts here again. Now again, let's kind of rehash here. This was, I think, one of the only real positives for the Cleveland Browns. Again, we'll talk about Kevin Stefanski getting the boot here later on in the show. As again, this show is just flying by here. I can't believe it, but it's flying by here on this Monday night.
Shocked.
But Dino, for a franchise though who's been, mocked, criticized, they've been laughed at. It's nice though when there is a team that can have like that feel good moment of the season. Now, obviously, the Browns had no quarterback all year. Deshaun Watson's one thing. Flacco is, Joe Flacco had his problems. Gabriel had his problems. Every quarterback seemed like they were getting hurt though at some point in time this season for Cleveland. So, Dino, maybe focusing on this though. This though has to be a pretty, good thing though for Myles Garrett though. And sadly, I would really hate to see him get traded though after this past season. But Dino, to circle back though, your thoughts about he breaks the record, but hey, some people are saying, well, hey, one more game. What are we doing here?
No, I mean, a record's a record. Obviously leagues are always gonna change rules, change the amount of games, but that means pretty much every record would have an asterisk in that case because every league has changed their rules at some point. You could also argue that, you could make this argument in every league. I mean, like you said, MLB used to have 154 games. Now they have 162. The NHL has 82. They're going to have 84 next season. So you can't really put an asterisk next to every record just because it's in a different amount of games. So a record's a record, and if he has the record now, so he's the record holder. There's no asterisk attached.
Yeah, I don't see. Hey, the tab is in. A record is a record. Strahan had his time. Myles Garrett is now the sack king of all time in the NFL, regardless if it was a 16-game season or a 17-game season, and we will leave that one there. All right, guys, we're going to skip ahead here a little bit to our next talking point here, guys. This will be interesting. Welcome, guys, to what we're going to be calling Bench Confessionals. We have 3 different talking points. Again, we have a unpopular opinion, a emotional hedge, and the future regret that might be coming after Wild Card Weekend in the NFL. Dim the lights, maybe later, and lower your voice. It's time for some raw, unfiltered honesty that you're usually too scared to say out loud, probably after you've had at least 1 or 2 El Presidentes maybe at your local Chili's. But again, guys, we're going to give you 3 separate tangents here. I'm going to give you the unpopular opinion, a emotional hedge, and a future regret that we are going to be talking about as the week prolongs here at this point in time. So with that, let's start with Dino. Dino, here is our unpopular opinion. The 14-3 Denver Broncos are frauds, and Bo Nix will fold in the divisional round after the bye. Your thoughts?
I wouldn't say they're frauds. I will say they might be a little overrated. I mean, their defense is very good. Their offense leaves a little bit to be desired. I would not say they're the favorites to win the Super Bowl, and in fact, the odds tell you they're not the favorites to win the Super Bowl. Simply because they've escaped in a lot of games. They've come from behind a lot. In a way, I feel like they're sort of the Chiefs of last year. The Chiefs of last year, if you remember, used to win games in a very similar fashion. And then when they made it to the Super Bowl, they got destroyed. So I could see the Broncos eventually losing to it, depending if they meet the right opponent, they will lose in the playoffs.
By the way, I forgot to mention, these were actual things I overheard this weekend at bars I was at around town. So these are like legitimate things that came into my head for this segment, for those of you that are curious. So, Dino, I think you're right, though, because we always talk about momentum or like luck being on your side, for example, when we kind of, say like, well, hey, the Chiefs won all these games last season with like a missed field goal, a safety, a blocked field goal where Denver had the game in the bag and they, the kick got blocked. They lose. And obviously, when you do that all the time, though, in any sport, it's about when will your luck run out. And we obviously have seen that, though, numerous times, like with Philadelphia, with the Phillies this past season, with the Brewers this past baseball season, where, again, as much as people want to obviously, say, la-di-da about the Dodgers, they know how to get it done. The Phillies and Brewers were exposed throughout the entire National League playoffs, for example, where, again, you get all those walk-off wins, you get all the walk-off field goals or all the game-winning buzzer beaters. Eventually, all those things don't go your way as the year goes on. And as we always say that when the playoffs come around, it is still a different beast. But, Kristie, back to our unpopular opinion. The 14-3 Broncos are frauds, and Bo Nix and them will fold in the AFC divisional playoffs. What say you about the unpopular opinion for the night?
Well, I don't think the Broncos are a fraud, and but I agree with Dino. They're overrated, and to me, they can't keep winning as ugly as they have been winning all year. I've said this on Football Forecast. They win ugly. It's going to catch up with them eventually.
So, Nick, two people are kind of on the verge of, like, they're not frauds, but they are definitely overrated. Now, maybe that could be a case, though, because this division has been owned, though, by one team for almost the whole decade, involving the Chiefs winning it. I think they won, 9 straight division titles at one point?
Yeah.
Right around there.
So that's telling us something, though, about how the rest of the division was versus Kansas City, where this year changing in the guard, is Bo Nix maybe somehow in the MVP race, maybe Sean Payton Coach of the Year. Again, I don't really know. I'm just spitballing here. I don't want fireball either, so don't even give me any. Don't give me any either. But Nick, again, unpopular thought here. Again, unpopular opinion. Again, 14-3 Broncos. They're frauds, and Bo Nix and them will fold in the second round of the postseason. Your thoughts?
I disagree with both. I disagree with both people in here. I think to say that Denver is a fraud, I think that's insane. I mean,
it is.
To say they're 14-3. First of all,
Shots fired.
Here's what people forget, and this goes in every sport. You play the schedule that's in front of you. People forget that. Okay, so people are going to say, "Oh, they're 14-3." The NFL schedulers make the schedule for the games they have to play. So if they're going to go 14-3 and they're going to take advantage, because I'm looking at their schedule here. Okay, they play the Jets. They played the Raiders. They played the Raiders twice. They played the Jets. They played Washington. As long as you win the games, that's all that matters in this scenario. It doesn't matter if they're blowouts. It doesn't matter if they're ugly. As long as you are the one winning when the time expires, that's a win. Okay? Bo Nix has had a really good year. Year one, Year two finally came around and is really engaged and really picked up his game and is improving. Sean Payton is the perfect coach for Bo Nix because that allows him to kind of build and gain experience to play better. Also, Denver up there with Houston is one of the best defensive teams in all the NFL this year. Who cares if you win a game by defense as one of the best defensive teams or if you win by the best offense in the league like the Chiefs were? Now, over the last couple of years, Chiefs were winning more games by defense and less by Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. If you look this year, Travis Kelce was a complete nightmare offensively this entire season. And when the Chiefs were winning any games, it was because of their defense stepping up until Chris Jones got hurt. But
True.
Yeah, to say that they're frauds is absolutely insane. And to say that they're overrated is even more insane. The record tells you they're not overrated. They've won 14 out of 17 games.
And more importantly, 5-2-8-0. They got home field. You know how hard it is to go and win in Denver in the playoffs, let alone any game, but come playoff time in Denver, good luck to you.
Yeah, that mile high. Oof.
I'm not going to say that the competition in the playoff bracket is going to be tough, but they're going to play the winner of Steelers-Texans. To be honest, like I think the Texans would be a tougher matchup for them defensively. But if they play the Steelers, I think they might kick the lights out of the Steelers, depending on how that goes. So, I mean, the way I look at it, I have the Seahawks and the Bills making the Super Bowl anyway. Because I think if Josh Allen doesn't win it this year, then there's no chance. Because this is the year when Lamar and Patrick Mahomes and everybody is out of the freaking playoffs. If you don't win this year, you might as well just hang it up now and not win.
As Kristie and I said really early in the show about if there's ever a time for Buffalo to finally snap the 0-4 in the Super Bowl, the time is indeed now for them to do that.
Yep. It's like Chris Berman says, time for the Bills to circle the wagons.
Better do it now. All right, guys. The
Yep.
next one here is our emotional hedge. And this one I found to be very funny over the weekend while I was out and about.
Ooh.
And I overheard this one. And Kristie, we'll start with you on this one. The emotional hedge I heard is, I am betting on the Patriots, but I have already bought a Charger jersey just in case Harbaugh works his magic in Foxborough. Your thoughts?
I don't know about that. It just the Patriots under Mike Vrabel have been really good. I mean, you see Drake May out there doing his thing. He's just proven he's in the MVP conversation, and Mike Vrabel should be in the conversation for Coach of the Year. So, if you're, what the heck is that?
Nope. There we go.
I'll just say it. Thank you. I'll just say it. Patriots. I mean, if you're buying a Chargers jersey, I would just say hang it up in the closet and never take it out again.
Nick, what do you think about the emotional hedge that I overheard this weekend? Someone is betting on the Patriots, but they already have bought a Charger jersey just in case Jim Harbaugh works his magic.
Fraud. Number one is the first thing that comes to my mind. No, the Patriots are the much better team in this matchup, but it's not close. The chemistry is better in New England.
So good.
I think they're playing good ball as long as Stephon Diggs stays on the field and avoids all his off the field drama that he's dealing with right now. And then they had another player who had off the field drama as well. If they could avoid all that until the offseason and keep the team together, they are going to win this game. Justin Herbert, who the hell knows if he's 100% healthy with that broken hand? So that worries me a little bit. I don't trust the Chargers as much either, but but if you're betting on the Patriots, then go all out on the Patriots. Don't hedge and get a Chargers jersey.
It's not a good idea.
Even you as a Chargers fan would say not to hedge back in the day. You would say not to hedge. I mean,
absolutely not.
That would be like if I, as a Jet fan, if I said, "Oh, I think they're going to win, but I'm going to go hedge and get a Patriots jersey if they're playing the Patriots."
Oh my God.
Which I would never do, by the way.
Never.
I mean, look.
Never.
Here's my concern for this game. And again, I don't know the whole, all the storylines, but I know, though, that the Chargers O-line has been just crushed by injury again all season.
Yes.
And more importantly, I've seen this movie so many times in my life when the Chargers would play New England in the playoffs. They had no luck. I mean, sadly, whenever I think Chargers Patriots, I have to say one guy's name, and it still gives me, I want to, break my hand. Marlon McCree, 2004, I think, fumbling a game-ending interception for the Pats to take the ball, go right back down the field, and score a touchdown. And then they basically mocked the team after the game was over. They, they were taking their spikes and, chopping up the Charger logo at midfield. They mocked Sean Merriman's lights out dance, and that really kind of began the Charger-Patriot rivalry of the mid to late 2000s. And that game was soul-crushing when that happened. But, Dino, your thoughts about that emotional hedge, though? Someone is betting on the Pats, but already have bought a Charger jersey just in case that Jim Harbaugh works his magic this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I don't really understand the hedge there. How are you hedging yourself by buying a Chargers jersey?
I'm going to assume that somebody is from Boston, live and die Pats fan, but does not want to look like a loser at work on Monday.
Okay. Well, I mean,
and if you're wondering, it is not me, so don't even bother getting in my mentions. I will throw you out of this bar if you do.
No, I mean, look, if you're gonna, yeah, I mean, I'll agree. Usually you don't want to hedge yourself that way. I do think the Patriots are the better team. They should win that game. They're at home. The Chargers have had trouble traveling cross country this year. I believe if you look at their games that they've played on the East Coast, didn't
they lose to the Giants at MetLife this year?
They lost to the Giants, so that says a lot. They got crushed by the Jaguars, although the Jaguars are a good team, but still, that game wasn't even close. They barely beat Tennessee, and Tennessee is, garbage, obviously. So, I don't really see them beating the Patriots in New England.
I mean, we just have to go and re-ask Mr. Ward for his thoughts on his team.
I mean, if we keeping a buck right now, we ass.
And they almost beat the Chargers, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, historically, though, in the time that I was watching the NFL, I dreaded the Chargers playing either New England or Pittsburgh because the Chargers had just absolutely no luck. Minus the 94 AFC title game when I was like 8 months old when they beat Pittsburgh at Three River Stadium to go to the Super Bowl that year. But any year after that, if they had to play the Pats or Pittsburgh or even the flipping Jets, Chad Pennington for heaven's sakes, and Rex Ryan and Mark Sanchez, if it's not for Nate Kading missing field goals in 2 of those games, we would have beaten the Jets at least those 2 years and not have lost those years. And Moggs is back. I hope Mike McD wins the Super Bowl and flexes his ring on the Ravens organization 100.
Wow.
I'm going to assume that's Mike McDonald who coaches the Seahawks. Is that?
I think that's who he's referring to.
Yeah.
Has to be the Seahawks.
Yeah. Has to be Seahawks.
Yeah.
And they got the number 1 seed too. All right, Nick, here is our future regret take I heard over the weekend. Literally last night, because I happened to go to a Steelers bar with some friends who are Steelers fans last night. We are going to regret not giving Mike Tomlin the coach of the year for what he did with this Rodgers-led roster.
Really? Really?
Now, again, is that maybe a lounge loyalty for this being a Pittsburgh bar I was at last night, perhaps?
Come on.
Sir, easy on the silverware, please.
To say he's coach of the year because of what he did with the Rodgers-led Steelers roster? I don't get me wrong. He's the reason why they made the playoffs. But coach of the year? Really?
Excuse me.
Tell me where that makes sense. It doesn't, like, I could think of so many other guys, like Vrabel with the Patriots.
I was going to say maybe Vrabel, maybe McDaniel, as Mogg said in the chat box, perhaps. Number 1 seed, journeyman quarterback.
How about Mr. Duval as their 13-4? Like,
Liam Cohen, the guy who chose to slap Sean Payton upside the head by after he called them a small market team. Absolutely. Yes, respect the bench, baby. Let's go.
So my point is there are so many other teams that deserve. I mean, I would even throw this as a dark horse, but the Bears.
Ben Johnson.
The Bears.
Ben Johnson, who's had a low-key, as much as you could say, low-key 11-6 season. That's hard to say. Seattle also 14-3. Sorry, he's not coach of the year. That is a little lounge loyalty going on there.
Right.
Could I probably say the only reason why he would get a vote? 19 straight seasons without being below 500 in his whole career.
But that has nothing. But that has nothing to do with coach of the year. That just has to do with an incredible streak. Don't get me wrong. That
you're close to breaking a record.
Well, right, but I'm saying that's more of a historical significance record. That's not a coach of the year record. Don't get me wrong. Tomlin's had an incredible coaching career. To manage to go 500 or better in every season you have coached, that's, first of all, that means you have to have a good enough team that is almost playoff bound every single year if you're 500 or better. So, but coach of the year, absolutely not.
Dino, what do you think about the future regret that we are going to regret not giving Mike Tomlin coach of the year for what he did this year with the Aaron Rodgers-led Steelers roster? Where, again, like we said, though, guys, earlier on in the show, though, they were gifted the damn championship for the division because Kyle Luke missed a 44-yard field goal with no time on the clock.
Yeah, no, I mean, actually, this is a case where Mike Tomlin's success over his 20 years coaching actually works against him because coach of the year traditionally goes to somebody who turns a team around. So that would be like Mike Vrabel, who turned the 4-win Patriots into 13-win Patriots.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Sean Payton perhaps could be coach of the year for all that we know.
That too.
Right. Yes, he would fit in that as well. Mike Tomlin, I mean, the fact that he's already had 19 years of being above 500 every single year. Don't get me wrong. That is an incredible accomplishment in the NFL. Like that is something I don't think any other team has come even close to doing. And, you know, and certainly not in this century. But that doesn't mean he's coach of the year. There's definitely way better candidates than Mike Tomlin for coach of the year. How about even Kyle Shanahan, who's had to deal with a mash unit of injuries on his team? He deserves some credit, I believe. Don't get me wrong, the 49ers, they weren't that good last year because they were also dealing with injuries. This year, they're still dealing with injuries, but they managed to win 12 games. So I think you got to give Kyle Shanahan some consideration as well for Coach of the Year.
By the way, 12-5, finishing third in the NFC West. Just think about that. You have a 14-win team and a 12-5 team ahead of your 12-5. That goes to show you how tough that division is.
Excuse me.
Yeah, that was a very tough division.
And then there's the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
Yikes.
That team's a mess.
Kristie, your thoughts here about perhaps regretting that we will not give Mike Tomlin, that we will regret not giving Mike Tomlin Coach of the Year for what he did with this Rodgers-led Pittsburgh roster, where, again, like we said, they basically were given the title to this AFC North on a tray table tonight. Or yesterday.
Yeah. He's definitely not in the conversation for Coach of the Year, despite the fact he's this many seasons away from breaking the record set by my Dallas Cowboys of consecutive winning seasons. He has to tie it next year with 20 and then the year after with 21, and then he breaks it. But it's not Coach of the Year worthy. We've already mentioned different candidates: Mike Vrabel, Liam Cohen, Jacksonville, Mike McDonald in Seattle, Ben Johnson in Chicago.
I probably would say Mike McDonald probably wins it this year, honestly. It's either him or Ben Johnson, I feel like, though, because both those guys have done a great job.
I would say those guys are equally deserving of Coach of the Year.
Nick, any last thought over there?
All I would say is
RELAX.
Can we relax on that a little bit? I know you don't get me wrong. Steelers fans should be very happy that they made the playoffs and that the Ravens had to miss a chippy 30-yard field goal to get into the playoffs. But let's take it down a notch, okay?
I mean, look, I got to experience the whole thing with them playing Renegade by Styx, and because I happen to, believe it or not, I happen to know a lot of people at this bar I went to on Sunday night, because again, one of my coworkers is a Steelers fan. So we went out to this place, and I knew the DJ, and I knew some friends of mine were there celebrating a friend's birthday, and I'm looking around what the hell's going on here? But they, to their credit though, they made it feel like you were actually at Acrisure Stadium, Heinz Field. God damn it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it should be called. Yeah.
I mean, but believe me, when Kyle Loop misses the kick, though, I mean, it felt like the building was moving from everybody running around there. And I'm actually shocked, by the way, they actually let Raven fans into the bar to watch the game last night.
Wow. That's
pretty
crazy.
Pretty, yeah.
You know what, though? That goes back to, if you remember, I forgot who it was in the playoffs, Major League Baseball, that didn't allow, they geolocated people. Where? Was that San Diego?
That had to be
San Diego, Philadelphia.
San Diego and Philadelphia.
Remember they geolocated people, and I said to you how ridiculous that was, because let people buy tickets that want to go to the damn games. Stop.
Exactly.
Oh, we need more of our home fans at the game.
Sir, we need that here because we might be 8th largest by population, but there's a lot of idiotic and ugly ass looking Dodger blue around this town still, sadly.
But why does it matter who's at the damn game? You want to buy a ticket, buy a ticket. Who cares?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's a problem for the Chargers. Every time the Chargers have a home game,
sadly, it is called home field advantage for a reason.
Yes.
The Chargers never have a home game. Every time I see them play at SoFi, it's like every other team's fans are there, especially if they're playing either the Steelers or the Cowboys
It makes sense
or the Eagles or one of those. It's always all the other team's fans.
It's the same thing in Miami. I've heard that Hard Rock Stadium, it's usually a home game for the opposing team coming in playing the Dolphins. It doesn't matter which team it is.
Well, didn't they say for many years, like when the Tampa Bay Rays, when the Yankees used to go into Tampa?
Oh.
Well, because the Yankees play their spring training.
Sox, absolutely.
George Steinbrenner Field in Tampa. I've been there. I've seen it.
And you would hear Yankee chants inside of the Tampa Bay Rays stadium.
Tropicana Field.
Or even when the Mets play the Marlins, it's mostly Mets fans.
That's a good point.
Come on, I have to listen. I have to listen to LGD every time the Dodgers come to San Diego. Like, come on!
God.
And in the playoffs, it's a million times worse.
Oh no!
So yes, we geolock things here come playoff time because we don't have enough of our people. Sadly, hate to break it to you, but that's just how this market that's not won since 1963 in Major League Baseball or the NFL or the NBA, how we operate here, sadly. So
damn.
But at the end of the day, though, the verdict, though, is that the Broncos are frauds. Take, by the way, is the hardest one for me to swallow and the most likely to get someone roasted. Like Nick said, you got to play with schedule. They won 14 of 17 games this season, and they won a division title, though, that had been iron fist ruled, though, by the Chiefs for 9 consecutive seasons. Now, again, will it carry over, though, after the bye week? I'm sure it will. Home field advantage is one thing. Now, I don't know, though. Now, Nick and Kristie and Dino may have to help me out here. Let's say Denver does get to the Super Bowl and they play. Well, it wouldn't matter because it's a neutral site.
Santa Clara.
Yeah, it's in Santa Clara. So forget
Bay
me
Area.
for bringing that up.
Yeah.
About who's going to be home, who's going to be away. It doesn't make much. It's literally a neutral site game at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California. But I agree, though. You know, to call a team fraudulent because of the record and that they played this, they played that. You know, a certain New York Jets, go fight, win coach once said, you play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. They did that, and they won 14 of their 17 games. And I think that's probably why Sean Payton, in my opinion, is probably in line to maybe get a coach of the year this year. But, hey, the truth hurts. But it's better to get it out now before the playoffs actually begin. As a reminder, though, folks, again, join us back here on Saturday, back inside the lounge, though. But it'll be Nick DiMartino taking over the taps with a comedy-centric sports version of our show on Saturdays, beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. back here on ETB, right here on YouTube, Kick, and Twitter. We're across the board. We have topped out at 99 live viewers. We were
101. 101.
We're over 101 now. I mean, this is how you reopen up the bar after 5 years being away from it. With that, guys, we're almost at the finish line here, but now we're going to go a little shot for shot here. I'm not talking about Fireball or Jack Daniels here. This is called the aftertaste, guys. Our main course is done, but there's a bitter taste in the mouth of every coach in America right now. And we're talking about the death tonight of the student athlete, and we're going to go shot for shot here. Guys, within the last roughly 3 days, how long it takes to make potato salad and SpongeBob is 3 days. So since January 2nd, over 4,000 Division I athletes have entered the transfer portal as of last Friday alone. The portal opened while teams like Ole Miss and Oregon were still preparing for the upcoming CFP games, forcing coaches to recruit their own rosters while game planning for a potential run at the national championship. But though, guys, the main problem, though, has been pros entering college athletics in college basketball. You guys may have heard about Baylor center James Najai, who was a 31st overall pick by the Grizzlies, I believe, 2 years ago, and was allowed to play at Baylor after playing professionally in Europe and in the NBA G League. Panel, we had 3 loudmouth coaches take to the airwaves and sound off on what has gone on. That, of course, began with John Calipari, questioning if we are criticizing the chefs or the unlocked pantry. Tom Izzo publicly called out Baylor for signing a crock and vowing to call head coach Scott Drew for a full explanation, while UConn head coach Dan Hurley blasted the ongoing wild, wild west lack of guardrails as schools have signed players on what are essentially NBA G League contracts. Mr. Morgeson, we've got over 4,000 kids in the transfer portal for fall athletics during the CFP playoffs, and a literal NBA draft pick now playing at Baylor. Is college sports now still a school, or is it now just a unlicensed G League or minor league pipeline with better fight songs over the stadium and arena PA systems?
Well, this is my thought right now of the transfer portal. it's going to crash at some
Yes.
point because, first of all, can we just stop calling it the transfer portal at this point? Can we just call it college sports free agency?
Yes.
I've long called it de facto free agency.
This is because these, and I've been talking to Zan Bando, in case people are watching for the first time on our Bando's Breakdown show and ETB Sports with me, that there needs to be rules put in place that if you get NIL from a school, you can't transfer to somewhere else unless you get a waiver for an emergency situation or a personal family situation involved. You can't just pick your ass up and move from school to school because you want to go follow the coach to the next school that he goes to. When the school gives you money, you need to stay at that school and stop moving around. It's not about school anymore. It's about how do I get the most NIL money and how do I survive? Okay? So this whole thing is, as Stephen A would say, blasphemous
Yes.
in this situation because it's no longer about school.
Kristie and Dino and Nick, as you guys probably know, and for those new lounge patrons here, we hope you become regulars. I work in college athletics. I'm going on my 10th year at the University of San Diego next school year. I've been there for 10 years, and I have really seen the recent issues that have happened in college athletics, mainly with the fact of I have seen so many great people. I'm not talking about the athlete. I'm talking about the person that they are who has taken money to go elsewhere. I've seen this with men's basketball, soccer, volleyball, baseball, softball, every sport I cover at my university, that it's becoming very much a tiresome time right now. And I actually applaud these three coaches. Now, again, is this because, well, hey, they're old hags. They've been coaching basketball for 40 years and they only know one way or the highway? Okay, maybe it is. But I think, though, once more people sound the alarm, and I think that Nick and I have talked about, Congress may have to get involved with this. We've talked about Cody Campbell of Texas Tech with the whole SCORE Act and the, Save College Sports, ordeal. Sidebar story. Speaking of mid-majors, I'm also named Mr. Mid-Major here. Thanks for the people who dissed me with that one, too, for God's sakes.
Oh, no.
Is California Baptist University in the Big West Conference out here in Riverside County, about an hour and a half north of where I live in San Diego. They have cut, I believe, 4 men's athletic teams come next school year, and they cited three reasons. Facilities were one thing, staying in compliance for Title IX reasons, and of course, the House v. NCAA settlement, where again the money's supposed to be dispersed out, though. So, Kristie, your thoughts here again as we see, again, over 4,000 student athletes are in the portal during both the college football playoff right now. We are also right now in the thick of college basketball in conference play. We're starting the spring schedule in February with baseball and softball and all the spring sports. Kristie, your thoughts, though, about where, though, college sports is heading right now with how the portal has just been absolutely breaking college athletics and breaking a lot of colleges around the country.
Well, first of all, I hate the transfer. I absolutely hate the transfer portal. I think it's destabilizing college sports altogether, and I just hate what this whole thing is doing. I just hate it.
I mean, there's the obvious
It's
answer.
all about the obvious answer is money. Yeah.
I mean, literally, I think today, guys, we heard reports that 2 quarterbacks had jumped ship to get $5 million worth of NIL budgeting.
God damn it. That's why I hate the transfer portal. It's all about the money. It's not about showcasing what you can do on the field and seeing if you can play in the NFL. It's all about where can I go to get the most money.
I mean, it's destroyed the NFL draft because now because it used to be when you went into the NFL draft, you went because you wanted to be drafted into the NFL. Now it's the complete opposite because years ago you couldn't have an agent in college sports or college football. Now you have college potential NFL prospects where their agents are reaching out to teams before they officially declare for the draft.
Yeah.
And they're saying, well, are you going to draft me? Are you going to draft me? Are you going to draft? No, that's not what the NFL draft was supposed to be. It wasn't.
Never what it was supposed to be.
Now you have agents doing the bidding for these NFL draft prospects and not themselves. It's awful.
It is.
And sadly, as Dan Hurley said, it's the Wild West, and it's only going to be getting worse at this rate. Dino, your thoughts, though, about how we have seen the transfer portal uproot college sports. But again, Dino, over 4,000 athletes in the portal as of today.
Yeah, it's changed a lot. Obviously, the NIL has changed the landscape of, and like Nick said, I guess at this point we really just call it college free agency.
Yeah,
because that's basically what it is. Yeah, it's definitely changed the landscape a lot. I mean, usually, if these were actual they are students, but like if they were, normal students don't change colleges every year to get more money. So, it's definitely changed the landscape a lot, and probably for the worse. But
okay, guys, Moggs has a pretty interesting idea to combat this. They keep the money, but they have to make it but they have to play at least 3 years minimum at the university. Dino, let's go to you first on that thought. What do you think?
That's, I don't know. I mean, it's, then it's almost like you're making it like they're signing a contract. So it's like they're pretty much professional athletes.
But as we've been kind of saying, though, as Nick points out, that it would be like, we have free agency. You sign a 3-year contract. You're there for 3 years, whether you like it or not. You're not going to, ask for a trade after one season.
No.
Why are you allowed to get NIL money from a school, and then you're allowed to say, "Oh, well, I don't like it here anymore. I want to try and go get money somewhere else." It's got to be fair on both sides. If they're allowed to transfer, then you have to be able to say, as a school, if I'm going to give you this millions of dollars, you have to earn it, and you have to stay here for 3 years, 3 years, whatever that number is.
I would say at least 2 years, at least 2. Like, like the junior college route, for example, you play 2 years in JUCO, then you go and play 2 years, at a D1, D2, D3. And before I get to Kristie real quick, and Moggs agrees exactly, it's like a contract. But also they say, I like college players getting paid well for insurance, barring a tragic injury or circumstance.
That's a good
to my
point there.
though, but Moggs, here's my other point too. I've been Forbes too, as long as the money is being used for the right reasons, like paying off tuition, pay off the house, pay off the car for sure. But not to go and free will and wheel and deal and, go end up being broke after your time's up, basically. Kristie, your thoughts about the first point, though? They can keep the money, but it needs to be a minimum of like a 2 to 3 year commitment to the university before you can jump ship.
I mean, Moggs makes a great point there, and I agree with that. I mean, it makes sense. You keep the money, but you got to make it a 2 to 3 year commitment. And this, just because this is why I said I hate the transfer portal. I hate it. This is like no loyalty, no real commitment.
Believe me, loyalty is no longer a thing in any sport.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
And also, if you're going to put that into play, you have to put a rule into play that coaches can't just jump ship every single time they think they want to go get a better job. Lane Kiffin is like the poster child for jumping from job to job to job. How many freaking schools has he screwed over from jumping?
Too many.
Yeah. And Moggs says, no, if they go broke, just like OBJ. Life lessons need to be learned.
First of all, how do you know OBJ is broke? How do you know that? These guys, we don't hear anything about their financial situations to know if they're broke. So, I don't know if
sadly, nothing like Allen Iverson or Cheryl Swoops or
Antoine Walker,
for example.
Yeah. I don't think it's fully fair to dig into people's finances fully unless you have factual information to know whether they're broke or not. But I think to protect, first of all, I think that signing them for the 2 or 3 years would protect them because that means they're going to get their money and they're stable where they are. If you're jumping from place to place to place, look what happened to Nico Emanueleva, who jumped from, what was it? It was from Washington to UCLA, I think. And he went from
Tennessee, I think, didn't he?
Or was it Tennessee? I don't remember which school.
To UCLA, he took less money and played in a barely full Rose Bowl.
No, so he was making $8 million. He thought he was going to get more, And what ended up happening is he went from making $8 million to $1.5 million,
Ooh.
and UCLA was a complete dumpster. And now he's not going to be an NFL prospect anymore because of it.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Well, for the verdict, though, the NCAA, though, has opened the doors to the asylum and lost the keys somewhere. We're watching the professionalization of childhood before our eyes, and the aftertaste is tasting either coppery or pretty bitter, I would say, for
Bitter.
the aftertaste of that that particular segment. I'm just thinking again, 4,000 athletes across the border in the portal after just 3 days of it being open until, and by the way, it is open until January 16th for those that are wondering at this rate. So we got another 11 days of this malarkey going on here at this rate. So, I mean, we'll see what comes out of that, though. And furthermore, Mock says saying 100 mil is not enough says a ton. I mean, yeah. I mean,
and before that, he said it on an interview, basically.
About OBJ being broke, perhaps.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know the interview he's talking about, and basically what he was saying is that $100 million contract is not $100 million contract. Basically what he was saying, because everyone thinks, like us as fans, when we see a large, ridiculous contract, like Shohei Ohtani's contract, which is $700 million, he's not taking in $700 million. You have to factor in taxes and agent percentages and all that stuff.
And all that stuff.
Especially when you live in a state like I do, which he happens to play in LA. It's 13.5% state tax out here.
Well, he also played in New York for many years also, which is high state tax. So I don't think it's that he was saying that he was broke. If I remember correctly in the interview, he was just saying that just because you sign a $100 million contract does not mean you're going to walk away with $100 million. That's all he was trying to say.
Right.
Yeah, so much going on there, but I agree. Though, I hope that they can at least get the portal somehow figured out. And I think we're a long ways away, though, because I mean, this is going to be. And Nick and I have said this on Press Row so often, though, this is going to be stuck in litigation, stuck in the mud, and stuck in neutral for a long time here. And there's not going to be a right way to make this sort of thing stop. But with that, though, guys. The bar is about ready to close down here, and some careers are over. It's time to pay our respects to the fallen before we sweep the floors. It is time, guys, to pour one out. These are the stories that broke our hearts over the weekend or had heartbreaking losses or bad news. Guys, we will pour one out tonight for all of the casualties of Black Monday. That, of course, guys, will start things off here with Kevin Stefanski, fired after a 5-12 season after winning 2 Coach of the Year awards. And that cannot save him from a 8-26 from a 8-26 2-year stretch. Nick, please pour out for Coach Stefanski tonight.
Oh man, I feel bad for him, but at the same time, like to say that he deserves to keep his job just because he won 2 Coach of the Year awards, that doesn't mean anything. If you don't have a Super Bowl or a playoff run to show for it, and an 8-26 2-year stretch is definitely not going to get it done. I feel bad for him because anything that goes on in Cleveland is eventually going to die of sour milk if you leave it out for too long. It stinks and turns into cottage cheese. But my point is that I feel bad for Stefanski, but he's going to get another job at some point.
Kristie, please pour one out tonight for Kevin Stefanski.
I mean, yeah, 2-time Coach of the Year, but his record the last 2 years have sucked. And I mean, he tried, but what can you really do? It's the Cleveland Browns. Their front office sucks.
Dino, pour one out for Coach Stefanski.
Yeah, I think this is more a casualty of the team that he was coaching rather than the guy himself. You know, when you go to coach the Cleveland Browns, you can't expect it to end well.
Excuse me.
So unfortunately, several men before him have tried to turn the Cleveland Browns around and they've all failed, and he's just another one of them. So that's what happens.
Sadly, Coach Stefanski reminds me of all those who tried in Walt Disney's Sword in the Stone movie back in the 60s to pull the sword out of a stone and failed miserably trying to do so.
Yeah, I remember that.
Coach Stefanski, we pour one out for you tonight. Kristie, we're going to pour one out too for Pete Carroll, one and done after a
my
3-14 disaster with the Las Vegas Raiders. Kristie, please do the honors.
I personally feel bad for him because, he was one and done, but I think the deck was completely stacked against him from the beginning. So I think it was inevitable that he was going to be fired.
Dino, pour one out for Pete Carroll.
Yeah, it might be time for him to hang it up. I'm not so sure he's relating to these young players like he used to. The Raiders, like I said earlier, although they officially finished with the worst record, you do see some young talent on that team like Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty and Max Crosby on defense. I'm just not so sure Pete Carroll related to them, and so it may just be time for him to hang it up.
Mr. Morgeson, pour one out for Pete Carroll after being one and done in Las Vegas.
Again, this goes back to what I said before. Definition of insanity: expecting the same, doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. They never were going to win with him. They were never going to win with anybody. They could go get John Madden from beyond and have him coach again, and they wouldn't win. So this team is awful. They got what they wanted. They got Tom Brady and an ownership with Mark Davis, and they're gonna redo everything. They're gonna go find a big name coach. Which, if it wasn't for Tom Brady, they probably wouldn't be able to convince a big name coach to come in. That. Oh God, that would never happen with Brady there.
No.
But like Dino said, Genty is great. Bowers has got to stay healthy if they want a chance, because he's been a stud since they brought him in through the draft. But they got to figure out something. They got to get a quarterback, a long-term quarterback that they don't keep replacing, and a head coach that they don't keep sacrificing every time they lose. So this is not on Pete Carroll. This is on the organization.
I agree. Real quick, I know that we're not supposed to go back, though, but this one is true, though, from Moggs. NIL deals are more than enough. Students though, need better financial education / literacy and discipline. I could not agree more. I would wish that schools would go back to doing financial education and literacy for that, as opposed to doing all these other electives I had to do when I was in middle school or high school, for God's sake. So I agree with that 1,000%.
They're not going to do that, though, because they know there's more money. There's more money in athletics than there is in education. I agree with what he says, but they're not going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, believe me, I signed me up, Moggs. So if that ever did happen, because I would have loved to have been taking that class back almost 14 years ago when I was in high school.
Can you imagine if they taught some of these guys financial literacy? Because then some of these athletes would not go broke as fast as they did now. All the NIL athletes and the young athletes today, they have financial advisors up the wazoo that teach them how to invest and do everything. So less guys are going broke because they're not spending their money on cars and houses and women and all this stuff that makes them go broke.
Sort of thing.
Yeah.
That too.
All right, Nick, let's pour one out now for Jonathan Gannon of the Cardinals, out after a 3-14 season, and the Cardinals losing 9 straight games to end the season.
Yeah, this is bad. I mean, no sympathy for the Cardinals, though. You signed Kyler Murray to $55 million a year, and now it's going to go down the drain in dead cap money. They were a joke. They had a 9-game losing streak, I think, to end the 2025 season.
Yep.
There's not much I could say here. He lost his job just because he didn't coach well, plain and simple.
Kristie Wilson, pour one out for Coach Gannon.
I mean, he's not a good coach. Not a good coach at all. No sympathy.
Dino, care to pour one
all.
out here tonight for Coach Gannon? Go ahead, Dino.
Yeah, sorry. They kind of just fell apart. I mean, early in the season, they were losing, but losing close games. And then as the season progressed, they just started losing by more and more and more. And it seemed like every game just became a blowout.
Yeah.
So that's a case where you could argue on the defensive side of the ball, at least, that they perhaps gave up on the coach. So the coach had to go.
You know, I'm going to actually pour one out, though, or make it a double for Jonathan Gannon. Didn't he get suspended for punching one of his players on the sideline during a game?
Fined.
Or
Was
fined?
fined. Yeah.
He didn't
Right.
punch him. It was like an intimidation tactic on the
He-
sideline.
Yeah,
Shoved him a
he
little-
like
Yeah, that's
yelled
what it
at
was.
him. I don't know if
Blew
he
up.
pushed him.
Yeah, it was like an intimidation tactic, and
Ah.
he got fined like $100K for it.
Whew. Jeez.
And finally, guys, let's pour one out, though, too, for Raheem Morris of the Falcons. Shockingly let go after a 8-9 finish and finishing in finishing outside, looking in the NFC playoff picture. Kristie, what do you got?
I feel bad for Raheem Morris. He did the best he could with what he had, but injuries just hurt the team, and the results speak for itself.
I mean, having Michael Penix go down again with another ACL injury,
Yep.
and then old man Kirk Cousins,
Yeah.
so close
Yeah.
yet so far.
Kyle, yeah, and
You
Kyle
like
Pitts just
that.
look. You like that?
Who do you think you are? I am.
Oh God.
Dino, please pour one out for Raheem Morris. So close yet so far for the Falcons, despite losing Penix Jr. to an injury this season.
Yeah. So in this case, I feel like firing him might have been a little premature because that team actually did play very well to end the season. I believe they ended on either a 4 or 5 game winning streak.
4. Yep.
Around there,
Yeah.
yeah.
They beat the Rams last Monday to play spoiler and prevent them from getting the 1 seed. They played spoiler by preventing the Bucks from winning the division. Now, obviously, that doesn't get them anything, but nevertheless, they didn't give up on the coach. They played for the coach. So I feel like maybe they could have kept him around for another season. So I do kind of feel sorry that he got. And they didn't even wait till Monday. They fired him after a victory. Literally,
Hours after the game ended, I think.
literally
Yeah.
3 hours
That's
after they
crazy.
won the game. They said, "Nope, you're gone."
They say, here's your pink slip.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Morgeson, your turn to pour one out for Raheem Morris and the Falcons. Again, so close, but yet so far.
2 losses to Carolina, 1 loss to the Jets. I'm looking at the schedule. If you win one of those 3 games, you win the division, and there's no tiebreaker scenario
Yes.
in this situation. You can't lose to the Jets. I'm sorry, even as a Jet fan and the 2 Jets fans sitting in here,
Yeah.
the Falcons
I
have
agree.
the Falcons have far and beyond more talent than the Jets will ever have in one pinky. I mean, Bijan Robinson, when why am I forgetting the name? Hendricks, quarterback, is healthy. They are a decent team. Bijan alone should have been able to run all over them, and for some reason they lost in overtime. That was an overtime thriller, if I remember correctly. But if you win one of those games, you are the division champ. You are playing the Rams at home. Just keep that in mind, thinking about that. That's why I agree with Dino. This is a premature firing. First of all, a lot of injuries. The weapons didn't pan out. So I think Penix not being healthy is not on Raheem Morris. That's on the organization itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, the verdict for me, though, is firing Stefanski is like blaming the waiter that because the chef ruined the soup, for example, or didn't have the CO2 tanks locked up for the right beer on the tap. I mean, guys,
yikes.
Cleveland is an unfixable math problem until that contract is off the books. Maybe pour a double for Coach Stefanski because of Deshaun Watson. How about we do that instead?
Yes. Absolutely.
I agree with that.
Absolutely.
So tonight we will pour one out for those coaches, and we will move on to wrap things up with our ending monologue of the evening. You know, guys, it's funny. They say that you can't go home again, but they never actually said you can't reopen the bar. I want to actually tell you more about where the spark came from to bring this back, really came from. And it really wasn't a boardroom, maybe a pitch I did to Nick Morgeson, but it was a few months ago after finishing up working for the San Diego Gulls of the American Hockey League here in San Diego. Obviously, I was tired and the voice was a bit shot. And like I normally do on the weekends, I go to the Chili's in our arena parking lot, and I usually sit at the bar and usually order, a couple of beers and some chips and salsa. And I mainly just watch the whole atmosphere. Obviously I looked at the TV showing the late West Coast games, trying to catch up on everything I missed while I was working my game. But it was more of the sound that got me. For example, to the left was some guy losing his mind because of an NBA game, and then on a game-winning three-pointer from beyond half court. Then to my right was someone staring at the screen in utter disbelief because a team missed a field goal, much like we saw in Pittsburgh, cost their team a division championship. And then behind me in the booth was a group that erupted because they saw a game-tying goal in a hockey game that came with 0.4 left in regulation to force overtime. And that's the energy of a bar, where the high-stakes drama of the world meets the person sitting next to you. And that's what the ETB Lounge is. We are back here now 2 nights a week now because sports talk should feel like that. Authentic, heated, but more importantly, communal. Now, you noticed we spent the whole show talking about the NFL and partially about college football, which I know surprises you since you know I don't watch or care about the sport since my Chargers left for Los Angeles. They left my interest in that league behind with them. And don't let D-Mart fool you because the map says that we're close. But here is the thing about why we did it this way. We do sports talk the way it should be done. And when I say that, that means every sport, every league, and yes, every city has a seat at my bar, whether it's a major market juggernaut or a small market hero, a label some people have used against me in 18 years of being in the field. Everybody deserves their seat at this bar. We don't care about your ego. We care about your game and how you played, and if you played all the way through it, win, lose, or draw. Guys, we saw it all tonight. Dissecting Week 18 to Myles Garrett's historic sack record. The name of the show may change, the network may change, but the conversation has never stopped. I would again love to, and again, thank and shout out Dino, Kristie, and Nick for a hell of a first night. Until Saturday, gang, this was fun. This was incredible. This was awesome. We're going to do it again with us next Monday back here at our same time, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And until then, though, guys, hate to tell you, though, but the ETB Lounge is officially closed until Saturday. We thank you all for joining us here again. We're back here on Saturday with Nick DiMartino serving up your first round with the Comedy Centric Sports Show. The check's on the house. Please get home safe. And from all of us here at ETB, have a great night. Good night. And thanks for being here. This has been the ETB Lounge on ETB. Until next Monday, when you see us again, please go and support our channel and go support the fellas in the group on Saturday back here in the lounge on Saturday night, though. But for Dino, Talbi, Kristie Wilson, Nick Morganson, Callan McClurg saying good night. Until next Monday, bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night.